And welcome back for episode 18 of Down Underworld Denizens, where we have several people that have just come back from an overseas trip, and we're still waiting on our foreign correspondent from Eurobowl to catch us up on the intercontinental trip. This episode, we've got our intro question of what award or trophy would you like to see handed out at a Blood Bowl tournament? It could be one that is currently awarded but not every event, or something completely new. What's up, guys?
Me. I'm a massive fan of Best Sports Person. I love that award. I love Best Sports. And I think it's a bit of a shame that, since we've started using Tour Play a lot, most tournaments that use Tour Play don't think to have Best Sports. It seems to have, disappeared slowly off the radar of tournaments, and I think it's a really useful thing to have. I mean, I know that a lot of the Blood Bowl scenes are fairly stable in terms of their player base, but the new edition's about to drop, and I think there's going to be a whole bunch of coaches that are going to join the Blood Bowl community that aren't currently a part of it. And I think you want to emphasize, first and foremost, we want to be civil, cordial, and have a good time. If you can't do those things, Blood Bowl's not for you. Go play something else. Thank you. And yeah, so best sports for me. I want to celebrate that, Blood Bowl coaches are a nicer bunch than many other gaming systems. I like to celebrate that there's a bunch of coaches in Queensland that seem to be regularly the winner of best sports, including our own Stewie picked up a couple of them. So yeah, I'd like to see that stay in some form or other.
But how about a trophy that doesn't just get automatically awarded to Zach Gibbs after every event?
You took the
Well, that
words
was
right
the
out of my
joke.
mouth, Phillips.
That was the joke. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it holds true. And I think if people get sick of him winning it, they won't give him the points.
Oh, how could you not? Zach Gibbs is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Although
Um,
Rowan would have to give him a run for his money too, I reckon.
Well, and Zach happened to
yeah,
marry someone who's also going to give him a run for his money in terms of nicest person around.
yeah. Look, it's a hotly contested award. I think it's probably harder to pick that than what it is to pick the winner of a tournament sometimes. But
And I think that's the reason it's disappeared is it just takes number crunching. Like it is actually a fairly time consuming process. And I guess as tournaments get bigger, that gets harder, right? Like I mean, working out best sports in a 14-person tournament is much easier than a 40-player tournament or a 60-player tournament or a 100-player tournament, right? Like it gets very complicated, and there isn't a simple. I'm not aware of an automated system. Like I think if you could rank your coaches after each game in something like Blood Bowl Tournament Manager, well, you know, that would be a great fix. Anyway, just it is a bit of
yeah,
number
I
crunching
know,
required.
I know. Uke Bowl a long time ago, you used to put in a rating from 1 to 7 for each coach that you played against. And I think was one was I never want to play this game again because of this person. 7 was I want to take this person home and introduce them to my brother or sister to get married. And it fell anywhere in between there. And that was something you could do after every match. You just put a score, so you didn't actually have to pick your favorite one. You just picked, or you gave a score based on how fun the game was. Um, I did like that because I won one of those once, Eucalyptus Bowl in 2012. So, um, but if you're asking me what I think an award I would like to see, and this kind of goes out to Zach Gibbs because I think he kind of got this one when he was over at Greenstone. Um, Many tournaments do a best painted. Now, I love the idea and I love seeing like a fantastically painted team. But if you're like me, I'm not at that top upper echelon of painters, but I do love me a good story behind the team. So I'd like to see some sort of trophy for uh, I don't know what you'd call it, the best theme. Did you pick particular style of miniatures or did you modify them in a certain way? So I'd like to see, someone who really gets into the fluff of the team and makes something that's just really unique, and give out an award for that.
Yeah. And that was actually the reason why we came up with this intro question was that at both Greenstone Cup and Ausbowl State Champions, they handed out three separate awards for painting. And I was like, ooh, hang on a minute. I like that idea. Never seen it before. Never
Yeah,
heard of it before. Thought it was a winner.
no, hats off to either Gil Johnson or James Cardno or one of the crew that was organising that, because yeah, it was fantastic not just to see a best painted, but I think there was a best technical and then a best, might have even been best theme that
I
Zach
think it
Gibbs
was.
won. So
Yeah, I think it was best theme. Yeah, and
yeah,
it was his Zinch Chaos team. Yeah.
what about you, Wilt? You want to give a trophy for what is what's your one that you always do? The least touchdowns conceded?
Well, I mean, some tournaments have been doing that as a trophy. Um, Best defense is always a good one to recognize, because obviously it can help decide the outcome of a tournament. Some tournaments have that as a trophy, like Ipswich did the last couple of years. Um, I'm actually going to lean towards best day two rally as a potential trophy that might be worth
Yeah.
handing out to people to definitely keep people that have been not enjoying or not having the results in the first day, giving them a better chance to come back and still score a top prize on day two.
Great
So
choice.
if you have a good day two, good day two comeback and a good finish, then that still gives people on the mid card or even at the bottom end of the ladder something to play for every single game. Be a good little thing to recognise people actually having a bit of bad luck and still keeping their mental and coming back for a strong finish.
Well, if that's what you want, Wilts, can I just really highly recommend to you the Bundy Rumble? It's coming up on the 29th and 30th of November. It's a 2-day sevens event, and there will actually, I've already planned it, there will be a trophy for the best comeback on day two. So regardless of how you went, whoever rises the most through the ranks on day two will be getting a trophy. So there's a bit of a plug for my tournament, and there's a new trophy for you to shoot for, Wilts.
There we go.
Is it the Arnold Schwarzenegger Award? You know, like you lose all your games day one and you're like, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
But what if I want to be Mozart?
That's it.
Oh, boom, love
Yeah,
it.
that's it. That's fantastic. Hey, that brings us to yeah, we've officially concluded our adventure. We yeah, we've arrived back safely to our own beds. Except for me, who came down with a cold on the airplane. I literally think I picked it up on one of the flights on the way back from New Zealand to Australia. And so my wife kicked me out, and so I've been in the guest bedroom ever since because I've still got the tail end of the cold. Yeah, like we're back. Yeah, give us a quick rundown of how our events went from our perspective. Yeah, who wants to go first? Who wants to jump in? Tell us a little bit about yeah the ups and downs of Greenstone Cup or Ausbowl State Champs.
I'll jump in first. I think my results on overall was the worst out of the three of us. So um, I was unlucky enough to be one of two people that was not a New Zealand and Australian matchup in round one. There was two coaches, so I had to face a Victorian in round one at Greenstone. Um, and I had Skaven, and he got a pesky early score on me. I managed to surf his Rat Ogre, just went straight to reserves, and yeah, he went 2-1 up on me, and I had one turn left. I had two rerolls left. No, sorry, I had one reroll left. And I thought, okay, I'm going to pull the one turner. That is my goal for the year. Set up, did everything perfect, and on the first blitz, I roll a both down and a pow, which would have ended it. So I've gone, no, no, okay, I've got my re-roll it into a both down and pow. So that's shut down that. So I narrow 2-1 loss to Skaven wasn't too bad with humans. I had a 2-0 win against um, Gnomes in my second round. In my third round, I had to face Dimitri's vampires again. and the score was 3-0. I lost. However, on turn what was it? Turn 14, so I had two turns to go. I did end up pitch clearing vampires, which was just like yes, and I ran in a consolation touchdown, so I lost that one 3-1. Uh, then the next day I had uh, Wood Elves and just I could not break armor. I and Dash against Dash, his Dash was just going to beat me, so I went down 2-1 there. And then in the last round, I came up against Glenn, or the Viking. He had Orcs, and I got myself a 2-0 win there. So whilst I did have three losses, they were all to Australians, so it didn't count for the PAV score, and I got a +2 PAV. So I was pretty stoked with that result.
Yeah, and I think it was deliberate. I think you deliberately dropped that game one so you could sink down the ladder and pick off some Kiwis. So well done. You kept the long-term plan, the long-term goal in your sights the entire time. Well done, cleverly played.
Love it.
What about you, Wilts?
I had a bit of a slow start to the weekend. I had a draw against a very well played gnome team from a New Zealand guy, and it was a great game. I learned heaps, and I certainly won't be giving gnomes the same opportunities again to crowd surf three people in one turn ever again. Um, Ended up getting the draw just because I couldn't pick up the ball to score back in the first half. Round two, I ran into Millsy's round one opponent with his Skaven. Ended up taking the whole first half to score and managed to deny the one turner just because he had some bad luck. But then he did his withdrawn offense and took almost the whole second half to score back and just ran
So
out of time.
just break it in there, Will. So we actually swapped coaches because I my round two was against your gnomes. So
Yeah,
we actually, yeah, didn't know that until just then.
yeah. And so yeah, it ended up being a 1-1 draw again. So one draw to start the submarine strategy is not a bad plan, but two draws certainly sinks you pretty badly. Round three, I went in up against Arlo or Warlock. We've spoken to him, and you'll hear a little bit more from him later on in the episode. Um, we had a really tight tussle. Orcs versus Chaos is always a bit of a beefy matchup in the midfield. I managed to chess puzzle blitz my way up the sideline to stop him from scoring back on me, and ran in the second touchdown just to secure the win. And it was a little bit of showboating, and I sort of apologized to Arlo at the time when it was happening, but it is what it is. And then day two was not a inspiring event because I had to face Dimitri's Vampires, which ended up being a 1-1 draw. And then straight away after that into Jason's Amazons. So we should have just stayed at the house overnight, drinking and playing games, and we didn't have to turn up for day two.
Right, right. Well, yeah. Well, that leads to me, I guess. And I was in the team, the Queensland team for Ausbowl State Championships, and I'd like to call it Queensland's coming of age. Um, there were 5 rounds where we weren't in a commanding position as a Queensland. Of those 5 rounds, every single one of them depended upon my result as to whether the Queensland team lost the round, drew the round, or won the round, all depending upon what happened in the game I was playing. So just to hammer that point home for a moment, so there were 2 games that we had in the bag, and my result didn't matter. Unfortunately, I won one of those games and drew the other, so there were some of my results already. But there was not a single team. Didn't matter how strong a team Queensland were playing. There was not a single team that ran away with the result for the round. It came down to one game every time against the strength of the mighty, overall winners, or the North Island of New Zealand, who put up an amazing fight, or whomever. Unfortunately for Queensland, I was on that team because 4 of the 5 games I lost. And then the final round, it came down to Queensland versus New South Wales in the final game. And I finally got my vampires to do vampire things. and we won the round because I won the game. So, yeah, it didn't matter who we were playing. We were in the hunt. And I think nobody is going to take Queensland for granted anymore, particularly if I'm not on the team. So I was very disappointed. A 2-1-4 for me out of the 7 rounds, because obviously Ausbowl State Champs had 7 rounds, Greenstone only had 5. And we haven't actually recorded a post Ausbowl State Champs and post Greenstone Cup recording. Do want to point our listeners to Powtearoa episode 50. Powtearoa episode 50 has me as a guest host on Powtearoa, at least for the first 2/3 of the podcast. So please do listen in. It's a good debrief of what happened in that event at Powtearoa. But also, I just wanted to say that congratulations to Victoria, overall back-to-back champions of the Ausbowl State Championships. And Big A was their best performer for the entire tournament and ended up being the highest ranked individual coach at Ausbowl State Champs. Did I get that name right? Is that right? The Victorian guy.
Hydro Hound.
Yeah, Hydro Hound. Sorry, yeah, wrong name there. Wrong name there. I think, yeah. Anyway, I also wanted to say, big also congratulations to Tobes, a back-to-back champion of the Greenstone Cup as well. So back-to-back champions in both Ausbowl and Greenstone. Tobes managed to run the tables and took down the mighty Hutchie in the process. And a Kiwi walked away with Greenstone Cup, making sure it didn't fall into the wrong hands. So congratulations there. Any other results we wanted to highlight or celebrate on Down Underworld Denizens? Yeah, just running down the list. So where did we all finish? Where did we all place? So as mentioned, Victoria came first and tied for second place, only divided by tie breaks. New South Wales were runners up, then the North Island of New Zealand. Fourth place, proving their mettle, was the ACT under Alex McAuliffe. Then Queensland in fifth place, South Island in sixth place, Western Australia in seventh, and bringing up the rearguard defensive action was South Australia, who unfortunately now have the wooden spoon. So we've handed that dubious title from us to them. So, so we're still not sure when Ausbowl State Championships is going to be yet. There is going to be a meeting of the team captains. That is the captains of both the states, the territory, and the islands to decide whether there is going to be an Ausbowl State Champs in 2027 or whether to leave it for 2028. So until that decision's made, that means some other things are not going to be able to be decided, like when do qualification tournaments kick in and so on. In Queensland, we have actually a draft of our calendar for 2026. So yeah, we've put out that calendar to our Queenslanders. I'm going to dress that up and get that out to the wider Blood Bowl community sometime soon. But we can't make a decision about which tournaments are going to be a qualifying tournament or not until we know when Ausbowl State Champs is going to be. So stay tuned, I guess. But I do want to say I thought it was an absolutely amazing event. Absolutely phenomenal. I particularly enjoyed the Friday night shenanigans as the draws were made about who was playing who. I thought it was a great night. I think it was fantastic. Anybody else want to say anything else before we wrap up talking about Ausbowl State Champs and Greenstone Cup?
All right, perfect. Well, I would just like to say welcome to Down Underworld Denizens, Doomfox.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. Big fan of the show.
Yeah, well, a certain other podcast is a no-show, so we figured we better step into the breach and make sure that somebody's doing the recording here at ASC and GSE. So poor Powtearoa, none of them could make it. Unfortunately, does that make us the number one Blood Bowl podcast in New Zealand? So Adam, tell us a little bit about, obviously, the South Island have had to throw together a full team, and that's probably presented some challenges. How did you select your team for the South Island?
So we were presented with some restrictions on how we were allowed to put our team together based on the tournament series scores and rankings on the website statistics. So I had little bit of wiggle room for people that I could choose, and there were people that were chosen for me based on who travelled to events. Now, because a lot of our events are in the North Island, it came down to some degree people who had been prepared to travel for those events. Because they had been travelling to events, they got the preference to go on this travelling event, which makes sense. I got selected to be the captain based off my rankings for compared to other South Island coaches, and then I picked up some people from there. I picked up a promising up-and-comer, Rane, who could use the experience of playing against a lot of top coaches, and is already doing really well despite having not played that many NAF games before.
So, speaking as a proud Queensland coach, Millsy, what is it that the team has brought along, hoping not to take home this time around?
Well, I don't know what we've brought to not take home, but we have come to win that PAV.
Yep. It's the wooden spoon I'm talking about, Millsy.
Look, I knew you'd bring that up, Ads. I was a member of the Wooden Spoon Queenslanders from last ASC, but we've driven up the ranks since then. I think Queensland is a bit of an underdog. We have a chance of taking this out or upsetting the team. So I know the ASC is going to do us well, but the GSC, we've got 9 Queenslanders in the GSC, so
11
Queenslanders in the GSC. They didn't need reserve, so
yet it's still not too late.
No. So I'm just going to put it out there on record right now. If Australia wins the PAV, it's because of the Queenslanders. Just going to put it out there now. Doomfox, have you got any say in that?
Oh, well, I don't know. The PAV is pretty hotly contested this year, and you've got a lot of Kiwi coaches to come up against. Plus, the Greenstone Cup has, 40 players this year? 38?
Well, depends. Yeah, I think somewhere around that, depending upon whether the buy-busters play.
Right.
They can play 40. They're thinking at the moment 38, if everyone shows, because that would mean 19 Kiwis and 19 Aussies. And they're going to pair round one, Aussie versus Kiwi, across the board game one.
Wow, that is amazing. That's going to make a beautiful, beautiful final battle for the PAV for the year.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. But tell us a little bit more about South Island. Like, you're coming in here, you're actually ranked 6th out of the 8 teams. What's your goals for the team?
We're ranked 8th, I believe.
8th, last? Okay, yep.
Yeah,
so what's your goal?
We're ranked 8th, and our objective is to do better than that.
Okay.
We're aiming to try and hit somewhere around the middle. Our population base is a lot lower than the other competing regions, so we're just trying to sort of get in there, get warmed up, and just sort of get some good experience against top coaches from Australia and the North Island, and show that we're actually a little bit better than 8th rank where we've been been dropped.
And I certainly think there are unfortunately some coaches that you could have selected from that aren't here. Welshie and Toffa being 2 of them. They would be good additions to your side. So I mean, you're not the only team that has had to put together who can make it. So I know WA, for example, were chatting to me at Hobbiton today about, first and foremost, it's about who can afford to get over, and that obviously reduces the pool. Did you have that kind of experience where there were some coaches that you would have loved to pick, but they couldn't make it? Yeah,
well, we would have loved to have had Gil, but he's already committed to helping run the event, so he's a bit busy. Like you mentioned, Toffa and Welshie, there are a couple of other people as well who have family commitments and aren't able to make the trip. But at the end of the day, I think we've put together a pretty solid representation of South Island Blood Bowl.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing you round 4.
Oh, that'll be good. I hope we get paired up against each other.
That'll be awesome. That'll be absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for coming on Down Underworld Denizens.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I'd like to introduce Arlo, a.k.a. Warlock, to Down Underworld Denizens. Thank you for coming on.
G'day, thanks for having me.
So, Arlo, tell us a little bit. What's your mission while you're here at both ASC and Greenstone Cup?
Oh, my mission. I feel like I'm winning Blood Bowl every time I play someone new. So I'm going to win in my first game, play an Aussie. Don't think I will have played them before. Pretty sure I've only played Tim and Ricardo Grande. So it'll be my third.
So you're going to quadruple the number of Aussies you play. Is that what you're telling us?
At the bare minimum.
Yep, something like that. Maths. But yeah, there'll be 19 PAV games within the Greenstone Cup alone.
In the first round one.
In the first round. And so we might get up to 80 games across the whole tournament or so, which will more than double what we've already had this year. It's like everything's in play for the PAV.
It's set to be the biggest year yet for the PAV.
Yeah.
And I think it's deserved every bit of it.
Yeah. Orcs love Pavlova. That's why I chose Orcs.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows.
Right. So tell us a little bit what team you're running. Do you have any personal goals for the weekend?
Absolutely. So apart from playing new people, which is my favourite part of Blood Bowl, I'm playing Orcs, which is nice and simple. 4 guard, 1 mighty blow, 1 tackle, no troll. A team that gets you through to day 2, and the sort of questions you're asking yourself is, do I stand up? Of course I stand up. You know, do I hit someone? Yes. Unfortunately, it's 1 and 9s with a guard, so that's a little bit different for me. I'm normally a block big guns team.
And I appreciate you said that in a Mickey the Kid friendly way. That's awesome because he's our youngest listener.
Well, Orcs in Auckland. What can you expect?
Oh, look, we come from Orcs Bay, so I'm the commissioner of the Orcs Bay Blood Bowl League. Of course, we should bring the most Orcs. We're bringing a Black Orc team as well. And there are not many Bash here, right?
Yeah, I must admit, I must be a New Zealand rookie because I didn't realise that Hawke's Bay was Napier and Hastings until I drove through it the other day.
I can also definitely appreciate a good greenskin team. If the teams for Greenstone Cup had locked a day after our Townsville tournament in North Queensland, I actually would have been bringing them myself because I had so much fun with them in Townsville. They would have jumped over my chaos, even though they're the team I qualified with. So
nice.
There definitely would have been more Orcs available if I'd had one more day to mull my decision over. And unfortunately, they missed out. But I brought my Minotaur on tour, even though he's not playing, and he's gonna stand in for my Apothecary.
Yeah, it's cool to have a coach model or something there to rag the team up, make sure they're playing their best.
They don't get injured and stay on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not want to join me in the dugout.
Well, Arlo, we really appreciate a perspective from in the trenches pre-day one. Any final questions, Millsy?
What are you going to do against my humans?
Oh, there's only one thing to do. You're the one who's going to have to change your strategy because mine ain't changing, mate.
Will you be disappointed if you don't face Millsy or myself in the first round?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course.
Well, you'll have to wait until round 2 for one of the Aussies. So we're looking forward to defeating all the New Zealanders in the first round and just facing Aussies for the rest of the tournament. What are you going to say about that?
Yeah, well, that would definitely limit the number of PAV games if that's your goal.
Well, our simple goal is that the PAV will be decided by the Greenstone Cup, not by the Ausbowl State Championships. Is my personal goal.
Yeah.
So definitely, we'll see how we go, touch and go. But number one thing, community, friendship. And getting a chance to play with people you've never seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said that.
And reigniting old friendships.
Yeah, totally. You said that when we first met. It's like there's no enemies here, right? We're all here to play with our little plastic dolls.
100%.
Yeah, and that's the true spirit of the Anzacs, Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. But we're all kindred spirits. But there is that bit of rivalry between the two nations. So what are you going to bring to Greenstone to stop the Aussies from taking that PAV?
Well, part of my choice, the simple choice was Orcs, but after choosing Orcs, the dice, right? You don't just go in with any old set of dice. I thought hard about this. So I've got one set of dice for playing New Zealanders and one set of dice for playing Aussies. My New Zealand dice are the custom ones I got from Tats Tabletop. Shout out to Tats.
Yeah.
And they're my Hawke's Bay Blood Bowl League dice. And against the Aussies, I got some dice from Steve Arthur, and they show Silver Fern on the block side, I think.
Nice.
And it's sort of a tiki face, a Maori symbol on the skull side.
Very nice.
So something for everybody.
So we've got the New Zealand dice and the Aussie dice. My current vote is for Tats. Come on, Tats, we can do this. Aussie dice for the win.
We've got Babs digging through his big bag of tricks. I'm sure he's got something important to show us.
Yeah, that's the one.
He's got one.
Babs has pulled out the silver ferns.
So the fern's the push then.
Yeah.
Right. It's got a pow and this beautiful face.
New Zealanders have got.
All right, thanks so much, Arlo, for coming on. We really appreciate you being part of our ASC and Greenstone Cup coverage.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Go Sevens.
Wait, are you trying to raid us? This is the real Pav raid right now.
I do not see Powtearoa here.
There is some other New Zealand podcast, but they didn't show up.
We are New
They
Zealand's.
want to, they just weren't allowed to or able to by circumstances and fate.
That's what it is.
Look, we've got a shit here for Welshie.
Yeah. All lovely gents.
You guys are amazing. You are. I love listening to you all.
Look,
They've missed out. What can I say?
that's all I can say. Yeah. But there's no but there. I was saying if there was a but there, but there's no but.
Actually, I am specifically catching up with Tricky in Dunedin.
Fantastic. That's going to be so good.
So,
Are
yeah.
you going to play him?
Yes, I'm
Are
playing
you going to beat him?
on sevens.
Are you going to beat him 6-0?
It might be hard without intimate terms.
I'm sure that. And I'm only saying that to provoke him because I'm in his head.
This is on sevens we're going to play.
So you're getting in his head for Babs, and Babs doesn't even have to do anything.
No. I'm getting in his head for me.
Look,
I'm always there, Tricky.
that's one of the things I love about the Aussies and New Zealanders. We can have that dig at each other. You know, we're kindred spirits, but you know, when it comes to the Blood Bowl table, Aussies are going to win.
Not only that, but I want to go on the public record. Down Underworld Denizens wants to see Blood Bowl thrive, and obviously Australia and New Zealand are probably the top two places we want to see it thrive. We want to see it thrive everywhere, but obviously, our bread and butter would have to be Oz and New Zealand. So,
And they're both growth markets as far as global gaming space is concerned, so there's plenty of opportunity to get more people involved, more community involved, and see everybody happy at the end of the day.
and of course, on the line this weekend is the PAV. The PAV is fought annually, and often there isn't a lot of opportunity for competition, where basically you have to be a NAF-ranked Aussie playing a NAF-ranked New Zealander for a game in the PAV to count. And so one of the few places that games occur are tournaments where you've got Aussies and New Zealanders at the same event. Capital Shield is one of those few tournaments where that happens. So Don, as the organiser of Capital Shield, tell us why, as an Aussie, would you want to come over to New Zealand for Capital Shield?
Alright, first of all, I'd love to see more Aussies there. Having been to both Big V and Uke Bowl, I'm trying to tick off the other Aussie tournaments. Cane Toad Cup is my next one that I want to try and get to.
Yeah, boy.
It's always a pleasure to have Australians come across the dish for us, because A, it's great competition in terms of the PAV. B, it gives me more drinking buddies, so come over. But this is a huge moment for New Zealand because this is the first NAF national that New Zealand is being able to hold. So we've crossed the 100 members mark. We've had a tournament, Capital Shield, this year that cost 50 coaches. So this will be the first New Zealand NAF national. And I think it's just a huge opportunity for the Australasian Blood Bowl community to come together and celebrate that. Because New Zealand, we've pulled our weight a couple of times. We've got our sand dunes representing us in our World Cup and everything. But this puts us on the map in terms of a place that people want to go to play Blood Bowl. And I'd love the Australians to come over to Wellington.
And I just want to back, it's no small feat to have that title of having a national.
Yeah.
I know countries that have officially whinged and complained to the NAF for not having one.
Yeah.
So for New Zealand to achieve that and other countries not have one is no small feat. So,
For sure. But
massive kudos
this
to New
has been
Zealand to
a
get
long time coming because we have been the largest worldwide Blood Bowl community to not have a national in terms of the amount of coaches registered versus not having a national, I guess. So it's great. But there's one other added reason to go to Capital Shield next year, 2026, June 13th and 14th, getting the plug-in, is out of the three big main centres in terms of Blood Bowl in New Zealand, being Greenstone Cup, Mainland Bowl and Capital Shield, an Australian is not yet to lift the Capital Shield.
Oh!
In Australia, double NAF points, you'll be making history and wasting the regular New Zealander. Just saying, come on now.
Look,
The gauntlet has been thrown. Any Aussies man enough to stand up and answer?
pick me. I'm coming back. Mushoomy.
People say you cannot beat Wellington on a good day, right?
Yep.
It is a glorious place. If you've not been to Welly, you should get to Welly.
And in terms of Wellington Blood Bowl, having two Wellington Blood Bowlers in the North Island team, I'm telling you, this week in the ASC, we're going to have great days.
And look, I just want to say, it shows the strength of Australasia Blood Bowl. Capital Shield has already utilised Tats Tabletop for dice, and they came out absolutely brilliantly. So, fantastic to see you partnering with some Aussie, production.
Oh, absolutely. Tats Tabletop is one that I discovered through Rabid working with Tats Tabletop for Youth Bowl, and seeing the quality of those dice came out, I was like, I need to jump on that and get Capital Shield dice. The other one as well is Young's Customs, Emma Jane Young. We got her to do the trophies and tokens for Capital Shield last year, which is phenomenal. Everyone, in terms of the survey that we've had, everyone super generous in terms of giving out high rankings in terms of the trophies quality and the giveaway quality as well. So we're really looking forward to working with the both of them. I can't quite reveal yet what we're doing with them this time round, but it's adding on to the free Grebo star that you'll get to come into Capital Shield is a huge, it's going to be great working with them again.
No, love that. So I love the fact that although the Aussies and New Zealanders, we like to give each other a bit of a dig and a bit of a plug. We are kindred spirits, and we're kind of putting it out there for the Southern Hemisphere. It's like, you guys are up in the Northern Hemisphere. You need to come down here because we're a force to be reckoned with. Although I'd like to say the Aussies have got it over you, and you New Zealanders you're up there too.
And to the international Blood Bowl community who are listening to this fabulous podcast, the Capital Shield runs, I think, 3 weeks before the Australasian Major, Eucalyptus Bowl. So if you want to make a world tour out of it, come down to Capital Shield first, do your Hobbiton, do your skiing, then cross the ditch over to Eucalyptus Bowl, which will be a fantastic
I was going
event.
to say, in the thick of winter, perfect time to make it a ski trip. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And still with some special sauce to be announced at a future date that's staying under wraps for now. Got to keep that excitement up and build some more hype.
No, I'd just like to thank you, Mushoomy, for coming on the podcast and sharing your thoughts about the inferior country down here in the South State.
So Australia Blood Bowl, North Island represent.
I would just like to welcome to Down Underworld Denizens their second appearance, in fact, Gil and James, a.k.a. Mahuika and Lord Vertigan. We'd like to just say thank you so much for coming back on and giving us a end of day one wrap-up and update where we're doing at both the Ausbowl State Championships and Greenstone Cup. And we're stepping in for Powtearoa because they can't be here, so we'll do the update.
It's lovely to have a chat with you guys.
So fill us in. Tell us about... actually, why don't we start with Greenstone Cup?
Sure. Mahuika here. End of day one, 3 rounds. We've actually got 3 Kiwis on top. Would you believe it? We got Toby Tobes with his Wood Elves, Nigel Burling with his Wood Elves, and Mike Loss with his Lizard Men. So the thing is, we've got Tobes has got all wins so far, 3 wins, but we've got Adrian Stacey's Skaven, Benjamin Van Zeno's Skaven, and a few other. Hutchie doing a massive submarine with his Skaven after losing round 1. So there's some pretty big games to be played tomorrow. Only 2 tomorrow, so only a 5-rounder. But yeah, it's been a pretty awesome day and pretty close at the top.
It's almost like Woodelse and Skaven are pretty good when there's not enough bash to go around.
Well, either that or I noticed the person that wrote the rules pack has taken Wood Elves as well. So there could be something in that maybe.
Oh, referee bias.
Yeah, but some pretty even ones. I note that even though the Kiwis are on top, there's also a big list of Kiwis down the bottom. There's about the bottom 6 or 7 is all Kiwis down the bottom. So, the Aussies are holding mid-table pretty strong.
Yeah, ready to submarine our way back up to the top. Alrighty. So how are we going in the ASC?
Oh, ASC. We'll run through where the different squads are at. And it's all pretty close up at the top, with North Island, Victoria, and New South Wales very, very close. It's going to play out tomorrow. So North Island are leading on 8 points, with Victoria and New South Wales both on 7, with Vic just ahead on the coach points. Following up behind them, we've got Queensland, ACT, South Island, and then South Australia and Western Australia just bringing up the end of the table. It's going to be very interesting in the second day. So day one, the top-ranked teams were playing some of the lower-ranked teams. So there were some big wins, but it wasn't quite as close. They're all going to play each other, all the top-ranked teams tomorrow. So there's a lot that can change, and there's going to be some really closely watched games going on.
Yeah, some big upsets there. I know Babs is playing on the Queensland team and looked at the final standings after day one, and he reckons we're in there with a go.
Yeah, we're in the hunt, although that said, the top 3 teams we haven't played yet, so it might look a little stronger than it actually is.
Just beat all of them and there's no trouble anymore, right?
I'd tell you what I'm really looking forward to tomorrow is the State of Origin, the Queensland-New South Wales matchup. I think that is going to be probably the match of the round. That's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a much stronger contest than it was the last time out as well. We've certainly done a lot to grow our player base in Queensland, and the quality of play in the last 2 years has just been skyrocketing. So definitely going to be a much closer game than previous, and might take a few people by surprise maybe as well.
I think just a note as well, I'm pretty sure that the only player so far that's got 4 wins is your mighty Kiltane. Is that correct?
This is correct.
Since Bob Sol's streak got broken in the last round, I do believe so.
Yeah, that's correct. He's up there clear ahead on the individual table, followed by Big A and Hydra Hound from ACT and Vic. And then there's a whole group on about 12 and 13 points just behind them. So there's a lot of people performing pretty well. And pretty consistently. Kiltane the only one with those 4 wins, no losses, no draws.
And where does that leave us with the PAV score for the weekend so far?
I think I might hand over to James.
Come on, boys. You got to do it.
We need someone with the ability to spin this one, I think.
Yeah, so the Pavs, it's an interesting one. After our glorious and magnanimous victory last year, we decided that I should sit this one out just a bit like the Bledisloe Cup, just to give the Aussies a bit of a chance at this one. Let's be fair, they've come over pretty strong and pretty hot here. They were out, I believe, to a 10-point lead at one stage. However, that's been clawed back, and I think end of day one it's sitting at +6. So definitely within reach of the Kiwis. And I know we've got a few heading over to a few big tournaments later on in this year. So
still anybody's game.
It's anybody's game. Hopefully there's some Aussie versus Aussie matchups in the Greenstone where you've been picking up all your points. Hopefully the South Island comes through pretty strong like they did last round. And the North Island continue their run, and we should be in with a bit of a shot. We just want to keep it close.
Anything else you wanted to give us for an update day one?
Oh, look, it's been a great tournament so far. Everyone's come at this with the right kind of attitude. Everyone's really enjoying their games. We've had no issues at all. And it's been running really smoothly with everyone, I think, enjoying themselves and having some really good games. So hope that continues tomorrow and we finish out strong.
Yeah, and I just want to give kudos to you guys. Last night, doing the draw, getting everyone here at the venue, all the teams were here, everyone was here, and then getting the captains to come out of each team and find out, picking out who's the draw in round one. That the atmosphere in that was fantastic. So whoever's idea that was, I know James is probably going to claim it for himself, but it was a sight to behold here last night.
Yeah, to be fair, as much as we wax on a little bit about some things, that it really has been a pretty good team effort from all of the kind of New Zealand organisers of tournaments and things like that. Everyone's had their different hands in writing the players pack, selecting the venue, coming up with ram chop's been all over some of the venue arrangements and stuff like that. And a lot of the Aussie boys, I know James Rabbit has been heavily involved as well, just giving us a steer as to what you guys are looking for, what traditionally you guys do. So we've had a lot of help. So it's been a really kind of collective team effort, and we just, we don't host it in New Zealand very often, and we wanted to do it proud and have a really, really good, fun tournament. You guys are travelling a long way, so we wanted to make it pretty special.
Thanks very much. Out from us, and we'll give our listeners a final day two update.
I just want to give a shout out to Milsey, Nick, and Dimitri for our 3-day camper van tour of the North Island, which was a lot of fun. Kind of wish it could have gone for at least 3 or 4 more days longer, but that's all we had time for. But we had a good time. It was great.
Yeah. So just adding to that, it wasn't just the tournament that we went to. It was an adventure, and we got to go to, my number one pick was we got to go to Hobbiton, and 100% guaranteed next time I go back to New Zealand, I'll be going to Hobbiton again. It was amazing. But yeah, like Wilts just said, there was Dimitri, myself, Wilts, and Dr. Nick. We just hired a camper and just drove to wherever. We had no plans in place, and yeah, it was just fantastic. Just 4 guys hanging out, going here, doing this, doing that, and bring on more Brola days, I reckon.
Yeah, I love it. A Brola day. I love it. And so my wife, my daughter, and I actually spent 2 weeks over there. So we spent the first week on the North Island. We flew into Wellington, not Auckland, and we drove up to Auckland. Got a hire car pretty cheap because actually normally people do it the other way around, and so they want people to take hire cars the other direction. So we did. And I drove the east coast. Well, not all of it. I skipped the Coromandel Peninsula, but we went through Palmy North. I caught up with my uncle in Waikanai, or Paraparaumu, if I don't know whether I'm saying that right, and went over to Hastings and Napier, and then drove up to Taupō and Rotorua, over to Hamilton to catch up with one set of cousins, into Auckland, caught up with the other cousins the night of this after the Ausbowl State Champs, Sunday night. Flew over to the South Island for the second week and hired a camper van and did the same thing the lads did, but for the South Island, and managed to catch up with Paul Deacon and Duncan Trickey, aka Tricky. And actually that might be a good segue to hear what they had to say. Welcome to Down Underworld Denizens. I'd like to welcome who I would like to call the grandfather of New Zealand International Blood Bowl, Paul Deacon, aka Smeborg. Welcome to Down Underworld Denizens.
Hello and welcome to. Nice to be here.
And for those of you who maybe are relatively recent to Blood Bowl and don't know who Paul is, Paul was a frequent traveller to Blood Bowl tournaments, particularly in New South Wales and the ACT, because that is where kind of the largest Blood Bowl tournaments were held. Particularly in the period of about...
In the noughties, mainly.
Yeah, yes. 2004 through till...
About maybe 2008, 2009, something like that.
Yeah. And particularly, really wanted to come to tournaments that were 6 or 7 rounds, because back in the day, CanCon was a 7-round tournament.
Yes.
And so would make the effort to come
yes,
over
it's
to
worth coming. It's worth travelling across the ditch for like 6 games or more.
Yeah.
So, a lot of tournaments around Australia are only 5 rounds now, because it means on the Sunday afternoon there's then, 4+ hours that you could use to travel home. So that's become, particularly in Queensland, that's kind of the norm. But tell us a little bit about that journey. What made you decide to first come to a Blood Bowl tournament in Australia?
That's a good question. It was because it was much larger at the time than the New Zealand tournaments, and I wanted to improve my Blood Bowl by obviously playing in a bigger field, especially playing with the Swiss system.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that you get mentioned often, particularly on Powtearoa, the New Zealand's Blood Bowl podcast. And, there's a vicious rumour that's doing the rounds that the reason you don't play in tournaments anymore is because Games Workshop nerfed your 2 favourite teams, Nurgle and Chaos Dwarfs. Is this correct?
It's half true. So it's definitely the case that Games Workshop have seriously nerfed my 2 most favouriteest teams, which are Chaos Dwarfs, and who have probably had the biggest nerf of any team of all time, and secondly Nurgle, who were quite badly nerfed, but I still play them both, and I found a way to play Chaos Dwarfs on Fumble.
Okay. So whereabouts on Fumble would someone find you? Whereabouts do you lurk?
So I lurk in Black Box, which is basically because about 3 years ago I stopped playing in New Zealand tournaments because I was too busy, not because of any other reason. But I found that I could play on Fumble on Black Box. You can play whenever you like, and also I play in the New Zealand early morning, which is the European evening, which is a really good time to find matches on Black Box, whereas trying the other way around in New Zealand evenings is close to impossible. So I found an early morning, like 6 or 7 in the morning, game of Blood Bowl energizes me for the day.
I think you're the second person on our podcast that have said that, if you have Blood Bowl endorphins, you don't need coffee for the day.
Not the case. I need the coffee. That's essential. I need the coffee before the game as well.
So, we go back a long way, and you travelled for CanCon, which I was organising at the time. You also came to a number of Eucalyptus Bowls as well. Yes. Tell us what's one of your fondest memory from that era?
I'm not sure, but I certainly enjoyed CanCon the most at the beginning. And after the first CanCon, I went to, which I think I visited from Singapore. I went to the Blood Bowl in England at Nottingham, which was in its infancy. It was only the second time tournament. And of course I was representing Singapore, which was quite good fun. And by a fluke, I beat some good players, especially one who'd come second the previous time, so had a high rating. And also the ratings were in their infancy at the time. So I went to number 1 in the world rankings, which was by a fluke, which was very, very funny. And my good lady wife said, print screen, and I did that, and so she laminated it for me. So I've got the proof that I was once upon a time the number 1 in the world tabletop tournament rankings.
Yeah, she's a wise lady. I think my Dark Elves were once on the first page of rankings as well, in the entire world's rankings. Don't ask where they are now, but I think you have to be on page 6 or 7 for the same ranking.
Yeah, so the team I did that with at the time was Chaos Dwarfs. You wouldn't be able to do that now, of course, with them. But I did at some later stage go to top of the Chaos rankings.
Yeah, but let's not stop there in terms of international tournaments further afield than Australia, because you did go to at least 1 World Cup as well, did you not?
I've been to 3. So basically, was quite entertaining. So I've been to 3. So the first one was in Amsterdam in, I think, 2011. And the second was
Italy,
Lucca in 2015, and the third was Dornbirn in 2019. Right. So the first one was the most entertaining because I was the only Kiwi, and a bunch of Aussies graciously allowed me to join their team to make up the 6, because the World Cup format, for those of you who don't know, is teams of 6. and we had quite a good result. We came 10th out of 80 teams,
That's very good.
beating the other two Aussie teams, which was very entertaining. And we called ourselves Team Anzac, a tradition which has sometimes been followed again.
Nice. I thought at one point it was at least a discussion about forming a Dubai World Cup team, because you certainly would qualify, and so would Clay Metiard, aka Clay Finity.
Correct. Some pretty strange ones, but it was very entertaining because when I went to the top of the world ranking, which obviously was only very short because I don't play in these big tournaments, I'd put Singapore as my country because that's where I was living at the time, and so it said Singapore, and then the usual Germany, UK, France, Italy, UK, Germany, etc. So that was good fun.
Yeah, fantastic. So obviously, you do call Christchurch home, although you do bridge a couple of places, but not really involved in any of the Blood Bowl scene on tabletop in Christchurch currently.
No, for those of you who don't know, we're making this podcast from Smeborg's Mountain Palazzo in Queenstown, and I split my time between Christchurch and Queenstown. That makes it quite difficult to participate in leagues because I don't know when I'll be in one place or the other. And more recently, I've established a business which operates from both places. So that makes participating in leagues quite problematic for me.
Yeah, so a number of Kiwis would love to see you get back into the tournament scene. Is there any price? Is there any way we can persuade you to dip your toe back in at some point in the future?
Well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is my Blood Bowl's been getting a lot better through playing the top players in the world on Fumble. The bad news is that I'm thinking of getting back into the tabletop tournament scene. I don't know whether that's next year or the year after at this stage.
Oh, mate, that's not bad news. That's fantastic news. I'm absolutely certain that you at a tournament makes the tournament better. 100%. I can say that as a tournament organizer for many years with you in attendance. So and that's why we have such a strong friendship over the years. It's because we got to know each other through playing Blood Bowl together.
And I haven't mentioned it, but the reason I went to so many Blood Bowl tournaments in the early days is because of their great sociability. So I've always very much enjoyed the social side of tabletop tournaments, and the main reason that I stopped playing in them is because I was too busy.
Yeah, and look, I do think the torch has been kept alight and carried by others in your absence, so you don't need to worry. In fact, we celebrated that this year for the first time ever, New Zealand has had a tournament with over 50 attendees at it, which was Capital Shield.
Yeah, that's great. I would have loved to have been there, but I couldn't make it.
Yeah, and so I do think New Zealand Blood Bowl should go from strength to strength. Although I think we can perpetuate the rumor and say, you can you'll join a tabletop tournament when the new edition drops and they fix their issues with Nurgle and Chaos Dwarves.
Well, that could be a very long time, but certainly I'm not dreading the new edition at all, because my experience is that every time there's a new edition, there's controversy, and it actually brings new players into the game. So let the nerfings and whatever fall however they may. I don't mind. Now for Kaz, I have a good excuse, so you don't need to shed a tear for me. I was in Italy at the time.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent reason. The Queensland team missed one of our top achievers because he had just recently attended the UK, so I think he was literally on a flight when we were on a flight over here, so he was returning home at the same time we were coming over. Just finally for our listeners, those who do know you and those who don't, have you got any advice for anybody who really wants to perhaps dip their toes back in? Maybe they are a bit rusty, like you've mentioned you are yourself.
I think pick a team. It doesn't need to be one of the better rated ones because the ratings are a bit odd. I pick a team and get good at it, and then use that in tournaments until you're confident using another team. That's my main advice. So I'll give an example. We had a guy play. I think is I can't remember his name. Nathan Peacock, maybe, who in his first season he just played, but in his second season, having never played before, he won our local league with the old vampires, who were not nearly as good as the current ones. Yeah, and that just shows what you can do if you have no prejudice and concentrate on one team and what it does best.
Yeah, well, that very much sits in harmony with what Sven Drakenspear was telling us on a recent episode.
Yeah, and I'd say a lot of conventional coaching wisdom is well, let's say politely questionable. So especially there's in Europe, coaches play in what I call a Euro style, so you can actually predict what they will do from one turn to the next. Whereas you need to have the mentality that sometimes strange things happen, and you need to adapt and do a completely different thing.
Which is fine until you're playing dwarves or tomb kings. Hey, look, I'd just like to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you once again after many years, and I really do hope that you grace the tournament scene with your presence once more.
Yes, thank you. I've heard this crazy / silly rumor that there's a thing called the Pavlova or something like that.
Yeah.
Or which actually, just for historical reasons, should be pronounced Pavlova, but never mind these things. These are the quirks of these things. It's obviously not acceptable for it to be held by someone from a country that didn't even invent the thing.
I'm the first person to say I actually, having done a little bit of research, concur. I do believe I think the ballerina might.
Yes, I think objectively the ballerina. I think Anna Pavlova was her name. It's more likely that it's New Zealand.
Yeah. I think we actually have evidence in a newspaper article. Actually, right. Yeah. Anyway. So, by the by,
but that doesn't matter.
Unfortunately, I think it's in Aussie hands now.
Having the trophy in the wrong hands is not acceptable.
Well, sorry, mate. It's already flown the coop and come back to Oz.
But for anyone listening, tabletop tournaments, especially in Australia and New Zealand, are very sociable. They're actually more sociable than in Europe, believe it or not, because in Europe there's the habit of people getting cheap flights and zooming off immediately the tournament ends. Whereas I found, as a general rule, in Australia and New Zealand, that the camaraderie and social side of things is really nice.
Yeah, and that's actually a lovely little segue for our listeners who hopefully are listening to this prior to the Big Ipswichki. It might be very close to. One of the mainstays of that tournament is heading down to a German restaurant, Heisenberg House, and I think that you need to put a German accent on that because the house is Haus.
Well, I was thinking of more of the uncertainty principle.
Yeah, well, anyway, the point is that it's a fantastic social evening and is a mainstay of that tournament and is absolutely one of the key reasons why a number of people attend Big Ipswichki. So anyway, once again, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
And hopefully the new edition sees you once more having your opponents nervously awaiting the stench of Nurgle from across the beach.
Yes, the Nurgle, a good one. I have this Beast of Nurgle, which is called something like Rotspawn now, but I still call it Beast of Nurgle. It was very popular in Amsterdam because it was so revolting.
Yeah, fantastic.
Complete with nipple rings.
and a chain, if I remember correctly. Well, from Down Underworld Denizens to Powtearoa, and probably the star of Powtearoa, at least certainly when it comes to sense of humour, it's Duncan Trickey the Trickster. Welcome to Down Underworld Denizens, Tricky.
Kia ora, Babs. Thank you. That's I don't know if the other two would one another, the star.
Mate, look, dad jokes, right? Like, that's me. I love a good dad joke, mate. You're right up there. Some people groan, but they're the best ones.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, love the podcast, and it's just a pleasure to appear on Down Under World Denizens as well. Which is just going from strength to strength as well. And I remember with you being on our podcast and then coming over and then making this new thing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we're doing really well. Yeah, 18 episodes in. So yeah, thank you Powtearoa for giving me my start in podcasting. Yeah. No, looking back for sure. And I guess I just wanted to say, hey, look, if you're playing Blood Bowl and you don't have a sense of humour, something's wrong, right? Like Blood Bowl is about the comedy. Like it is a parody. It is a satire. If you don't laugh at your Blood Bowl, then you're probably on the edge of a nervous breakdown.
That's it. No, we've got to laugh as well, and that's the thing about it, isn't it? As well. But I would just one more shout out to Down Under World Denizens is. I love what you've been doing with looking back at some of those classics, the old, players of the game as well. I'm just now they've all escaped my mind at the moment, but
dead set legends.
Yeah, dead set legends is like and Big Gun Shern. Oh, has he been on yet?
We've had Hoshikomi.
Big Gun Shern. He was a freebooter.
No, I don't remember him,
he was in a White Dwarf. There you go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, we know what happens about White Dwarf stars like Acorn. He's taken off.
Yeah.
I actually wonder whether that cat in the new edition, the mummified cat, whether that's going to become a star player too.
Yeah, precisely. I think people saw that and were like, "Oh, what's it going to be?" And you're like, "Yeah."
Well, there is artwork showing it playing. So just, who knows?
Could be the perfect player.
Hey, I thought having you on Down Underworld Denizens would be really helpful for our listeners. Because you live in Dunedin. Now, just for our listeners who don't know New Zealand particularly well, what is the unique challenge for being a Blood Bowl player in Dunedin in terms of distance and remoteness and that kind of thing? Tell us a little bit about the location.
Yeah. So Dunedin's it's a beautiful wee town. Smallish. I think we're 125,000 or something with a transient population of about 40,000 university students, which gives it a really kind of unique feel, So I think some of the challenges originally were finding a spot. Like when I first started out, and this is a long time ago, like I'm talking that my kids were young, and on a Sunday. My wife was working at a cafe at this time, and me and my kids used to go on a Sunday to the Otago Miniature Tactician Society, and we used to just set up all our Blood Bowl stuff just to look for people, So, and I think that was part of that was being immigrant to the town, so not really having those connections, So, and the Otago Miniature Tacticians, it was. At that point, it was a slightly older crowd, I think, and a lot of them were doing some historic gaming as well. And there was a really nice guy there who designs games as well. And I played a few Vietnam kind of campaigns with him and stuff, which was good. It was trying to get that buy-in, and it was wonderful. One time, me and my son and his friend were there, and we were playing away, and I brought all the Secret League teams and stuff, and then Sand Dune just happened to be in town because he's got some connections down here, and he came along and played with us as well, and that was kind of so finding the spot and finding the connections as well. At this point as well, I remember being over here and just wanting to play a bit of Blood Bowl, but I hadn't really noticed Fumble. I'd looked at it so many times and been, what is this? And then I'd been like, and slowly, it was quite funny, but slowly I then got involved in Fumble, but I just got involved in Fumble by playing random black box games. And Ramchop, who's like radar, is all over the place for New Zealand Blood Bowl. It's like, who is this guy? Tricky from Dunedin, who's just playing random black box games every now and again, Besides, I didn't really understand what was happening. I was just looking for a game. So he reached out to me and says, hey, do you know there is a New Zealand Blood Bowl scene? I ended up on this Discord, which was actually, it's been like that whole thing was massive for me because It connected me with this community, but also it gave me a few ideas about other communities I could connect with, and some of my work in esports has been around that as well, which is not something to go into now. But so connecting those teams and then getting to my first tournament, and then just building and pushing the scene here, which took a long time, but now we're into our fourth year of the league, which is good, and I think we're at 14 or 16 coaches, which is good, with a lot of regulars. So that's been helpful because David Tripp came on board and he took over as commissioner, and he's just, that little bit younger. He has the people here, that he knows from wargaming scenes here, and maybe he's been playing D&D with and stuff. So, and that was really helpful, those local connections.
Yeah.
And then, so.
Yeah, and obviously, Dunedin is, quite remote for New Zealand, really. In terms of, it's what, 2 hours south to Invercargill, and I don't know of any Blood Bowlers there. The only other city within Kui is Christchurch, which is almost 5 hours drive.
5 hours
so,
drive.
Even thinking, connecting with the Blood Bowl scene, well, there isn't really a scene you can connect in with. You're not like living in Victoria, where within a couple of hours you're at a bunch of Blood Bowl tournaments. It's quite remote here. So, trying to find people within the existing community is a challenge. And I guess that's quite similar to some places in Queensland, like Townsville, for example, or Mackay. Both of those are fairly remote cities. So, you really need to work hard to grow your current base. Any advice for somebody like, I'd love to see a Blood Bowl league start up in Toowoomba, for example. We don't have one currently that I'm aware of. Any advice for somebody who's thinking about starting a league in their little city or town?
I always think back to actually what Welshie said to me, because I met Welshie at my first tournament, Kaz, and then at Mainland Bowl after that, and it's always been wonderful. And we connected quite a bit over COVID. BC was trying to figure out what to do with the Christchurch scene during that time, and he said, well, what you've done, Tricky, is you've left a light on, so people know it's happening. And that was like just claiming little spaces. Like, I've got Otago Blood Bowl. I kind of took that over on Facebook. I like made this site just to say stuff, and what I did with that was I just kind of posted, this is what we're doing, from when I used to set up with all the gear, and saying, this is what we're doing here, this is what we're doing here, this is, and then and that had just people go, Otago, and every now and again there'd be some message, like from someone who'd be like, can we get into this? I'm like, yeah, let's meet up, and that was half the thing. So kind of, being a bit public with those.
So did you put posters up in local gaming stores?
No, I didn't do that. And the gaming stores scene has just exploded recently in Dunedin, and we got posters up now, saying there's a league, etc. And we regularly use as this beautiful, really great gaming shop right in town called Dunedin Model and Game Society, and it's run by just a wonderful person who's just old school gamer, and basically all he wanted to do was get a gaming shop like he wished he had when he was young, and he's brilliant. He takes kids through D&D there, and helps them with all that stuff, and he's just got such a wonderful collection now. But those weren't really there. Games Workshop probably it came to town just before maybe 2018, 2017, I think.
Just to channel my inner Monty Python. That's luxury. Games Workshop store. I wish. When I was a lad.
Well, it's true. And I remember I was just like, oh my God, it's open, and then I'd hang out there a lot, and then saying I'd regularly order all my spikes through them and stuff as well. But I'm now, and I don't know, like I know you've got Games Workshops here, but I do use my friendly local one, Dunedin Model and Games, to get some of that stuff now through, because I kind of I'm supporting them a bit more. So I haven't been into the Games Workshop store enough. That is also, I don't always use all their products, but I think their products are wonderful, and I do support them a lot and buy a lot of their stuff. But so we got that. We got this other one, Dice Den, which is more a card playing place. We got and another 2 game shops opened up. So
Brilliant.
so it's gone on. And if there's one in South Dunedin, we go past, and it's always fun.
And now is the right time to be thinking about this. If you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, I wouldn't mind starting a league for Blood Bowl, this is the perfect time. Third season is going to drop,
absolutely.
Whatever we're going to call it.
Yeah,
8th edition is what that's my
Eighth
political
edition.
bent. I want to call it 8th edition. I don't think it's going to stick, but what the hell? 2025, whatever. The point is that, with that box set being released, most stockists, anybody who stocks Warhammer will have a copy.
Yeah.
So, it's a perfect time to stick a poster up saying,
Isn't it?
if you're buying this, join
Grab
the
this.
league. Join the league.
Yeah.
It's a great time to pick up new players. So, definitely, get your Facebook, social media working, get your posters up. Tell us a little bit about the tournament scene in Dunedin, tell us a bit about that.
So, and that was that's interesting because I'd been looking and listening to podcasts and stuff, and this is before Powtearoa, and just hearing about all these registered tournaments and such, and I was like, okay. And then my first for one birthday I went up to Kaz. And I was like, and that was my first tournament. I was like, yes, no, this is what we need. So I need to get this. And then visited Mainland Bowl after that. And I was like, okay, can I do it? I was, we didn't have any tournament scene. There is a big gaming convention here, which is called SouthCon or something. And I know my mate tried to run something at that. And it never really took off. And I actually said to him at that point, I was like, listen, do you want it to take off? Because if I've got a few ears on things, if we want to push it, I can push it through all my channels and say, like, listen, this is happening, we're doing this, it's first time, get down here. And I felt like I had a bit of sway for that, but it was kind of like, no, don't worry about that. Which was just galvanized me to think, okay, right, well, I'm going to do this. And that's SouthCon, because you got so many players who are playing 40k or, other things. It's
Warhammer Yahtzee.
Yeah. That's, God, this is so many dice, God. But it felt like, you probably diluted there.
Yeah.
I thought for our first one, so I was like, no, let's see what we can do. And we had the first one, and and I liked my rule set just because I do like the Giants and got that through. And James Hills was very supportive. He came down, Claymore, that is. Cado Grande came over from Australia. I think we were at, we got 10 coaches, and I was like, brilliant, this is brilliant. So yeah, and then then I was like, okay, now I've got it, and we're doing it. So then I was like, okay, well, we'll get the sevens going as well. The thing that's always made me nervous, and I probably mentioned this in the early Powtearoa, was the cost. I was always worried about, like, okay, how am I covering prizes? Because I wanted it to have prizes. How am I covering the venue and getting a decent venue? And how am I going to get those prizes in as well? So that was kind of a balancing act, I think. And you've given me a few good pointers on that, actually, while you've been here, which is good. But so really happy. And I'm like, and we are a bit out of the way, but, last year we had a huge crowd come down as well. Tons of Christchurch boys, which was awesome.
Yeah, this year. Did you get 19 or something?
We had 19. 18 in the end. 18 in the end, and it was and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. So happy.
I went on the record saying I think you need to keep a more mainstream rule set. And drop the Giants, and I remember you were like, Babs, shut up. and the point is that actually now I think you've actually kind of almost cemented that. This is a giant tournament, and people are travelling for that because you can go to a dime a dozen regular Blood Bowl tournaments without those
Yeah.
kind of rules.
Your
tournament has those
Exactly,
rules, and so
yeah.
people are travelling for the
For that,
opportunity.
yeah.
So well done, mate.
Well,
You've kind of found a niche.
It was actually interesting as well, because James Cardno from Auckland came down, and we had half a field of giants. So half the teams had giants, half the teams didn't have giants, and it was a lot of the upper echelon players. And James had a giant, and he was like, "Hang on, have people not taken a giant?" And God, he's so funny. He was just, but he was like, "What do you mean?" And I think like the really good thing about these events as well, and like it's always been my kind of mantra for a Dunedin event. It's okay. Well, I just as your host, I'm gonna go out my way to do as much as I can. So like we regularly will. I'll take them up to you saw us rolling dice down Baldwin Street.
Yeah. World's steepest street.
Yeah,
Yep.
I make sure I'm available to pick some people up from the airport, etc. Because the airport's but that's quite remote. It's not really near Dunedin. It's a bit of a commute to get from the airport. So things like that, and we just make sure. The Friday night event, Secret Sevens.
Combining that's a good call.
Yeah,
I think that's a good move.
Although we only managed one round last time, because the power gamers had to sleep.
That's it. Well, you know that it's a drinking event with a little bit of Blood Bowl.
Yeah. That's it. Well, I deliberately the time before. Me and Ricardo and so many of us were like, oh my God, we had such a big Friday that Saturday was a bit of a struggle. And then this time I was like, no, I'll make sure I drive.
Yeah, there are a couple at Ausbowl State Champs that had that problem too. I can assure you.
Yeah.
But I think the point is that and this is a thing in Queensland. We often piggyback a sevens event on either the Friday or the Saturday night.
Yeah.
For those who want to. Just don't expect everybody to want to.
I
think it's a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good move. People are travelling. You can maximise your Blood Bowl if you wish to.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, I think having a social event of some kind is also a really good move. So that's great. So is it happening again in 2026?
2026, yes.
Oti Poti Bowl.
Oti Poti Bowl, 2nd and 3rd of May. I've already got some people who've emailed me saying, "Oh, listen, is it definitely then?" I'm like, "Yes, it's definitely then."
Might be under the new rules, and you may have to patch your giant rules because if the rumor we covered is correct, the Death Zone version for this current edition about to drop won't be out by then.
Right,
I'm not saying it's true or not true, but that's what the rumour claimed. You may have to just port your rules over and stick it in the rules pack for everybody. I mean, like Giants have like 6-page of rules all the time. That's the number one obstacle, I reckon, as to why more tournaments in Australia don't have them. It's just there's so many rules.
So many rules.
Get your head around.
And there's a lot on that. We kind of like this next year as well. I'm going to make a card for the Giant just to help the players as well, because often you don't want to be flicking through those rules as well. But we kind of there's little things like someone's like, "Oh, leaping around a giant, how does that happen?" And I was like, "Oh God, yeah, has that been FAQ'd?" Do you know? Like we're like so me and Chicken Pie like talked through it, and we said, "Okay, well, I could see a war dancer rolling under its legs or something, so maybe that's the way we look at a leap as well or something, So it's a lot of it we kind of take a bit of gentlemanly kind of rules to things as well, and then just make sure they're consistent as well.
Yeah. So just before we go, why don't you the other area that you're fairly heavily involved is online and Fumble in particular, not Blood Bowl 3. Dibble or Deserted Isles Blood Bowl League is what you're commissioner of?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just a player on Dibble. I'm a commissioner of Ausbowl as well.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So give us a bit of a plug for those people who are thinking about a bit of Fumble action.
Yes, definitely. Fumble is wonderful. Dibble's a lot of fun. It's I just recently beat Ramshop in the final of the Wobbly Boot, which is our lowest tier of the competition. But there you go, Ramshop. Just drop that one out there. We've been playing each other every week for the last month, it seems. The big one I do is Ausbowl, which is the Oceania Secret Blood Bowl League, which is me and Ricardo Grande is my our co-commissioner, you know, so he gives me a lot of support on that. He's absolutely wonderful. He took the helm for a while I was away there, and did a great job. That's 16 secret league teams. Which is, if you've not been on Fumble, it's worth having a look at. Very interesting. We've just got some new kind of things there, and we
know Games Workshop look at those secret teams, right? I mean, look at where the Corn team came from. It was straight out of secret league. And it's not the only one. There was another team that they pulled that was very close.
The Gnomes were there as a gnome team, but they changed it because the gnomes all had the and if you look at Impact Miniatures, they've got the gnomish contraptions, like kind of which is really cool as well. I looked at that team for a long time, but there are teams to look at there, and like we've got a cafe team which we're interested in, and the one I love the most, which I'd really love to see in a Blood Bowl proper, would be they used to be called pygmies, but they call them forest flings now, and they've got a Dauntless Claws Blitzer, which has got blooming dodge and stunty, right? Which is just so good. So it's like a cage.
The one I keep hearing about is a squig team or a night goblin team. That's straight out of Secret League.
The squig team with used to have, and I said it was just one of the hardest teams to play because you had really stupid squigs, and then you had squig hoppers, which all had the old bloodlust. You know, so when they used to go off the pitch, so it'd be them, and then no swarming. So and you'd have the squig herders trying to herd these things around, and the squig hoppers were really good. But once they disappeared, it was that. So every move was just like, I was like, oh my god, how much thinking do I have to do before am I activating that really stupid squig or the giant squig that's really stupid, but the one thing amazing, it had a non-secret weapon. Do you call it a mauler squig? Which is like a ball and chain. And I think it's strength 7 piece, and it was claw. And it was just, oh my god, it used to murder things. One great game I played, it was against a Slaneshi team, which are quite good, and they had a lot of change, or what's the Slanesh big thing? Anyway, Prince of Darkness. Something. And this and it was beautifully adapted, and this smaller squig just went right through it and murdered it.
So tell us, if people are wanting to join the Ausbowl Secret League. How do they get on? I mean, obviously, first thing, Fumble, FUMBBL. .org. Something
maybe
like
.org, something like that.
.net,
yeah,
one of them. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
I think maybe .net. Anyway, so FUMBBL Fumble. And then how do they get onto?
So on Ausbowl, because from there you can PM me, which is good. But the best way is probably through Discord. But if you were to message me and get on the league, it's easy. We have a lot of Australian coaches on there as well, and we play in a New Zealand time zone, but it's pretty 50-50 really.
Daylight savings just kicked in 3 hours ahead.
And
if that means if we've got players from Perth, it's like
Well, we really
5 hours ahead.
because we're Oceania, we're really looking to grow the some of the islands maybe, but nobody's over there. But I know we're the only one who's claiming Oceania at the moment. So it's So, but definitely just drop me a PM. Or there's actually in Melbourne, there's a secret Melbourne league over there, which I think is happening, and they're very connected with us as well. And I drop in on their Discord quite a lot, just seeing what's happening. It's nice to see some secret league happening in real life as well. You know? Yeah.
All right. Well, look, just like to say thank you so much for coming on Down Underworld Denizens. And hopefully we'll see you maybe in an Australian Blood Bowl tournament sometime soon.
Oh, definitely. That would be lovely. I'd love to get over there as well. We're just managing things here as well and see where we're at as well. But no, Babs, absolute pleasure having you in the country, and great you got to come down and see a bit of beautiful Dunedin as well. Yeah, and brilliant weather, by the way.
Yeah, don't worry. I know how it works. That's why I've lost every game against a New Zealander while I've been here, including you last night. Gotta keep my powder dry and my relations good.
That's it. Yeah, it's such a gentleman.
All right, out from us.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
But hey, this is not the only adventure. As we speak, we are still waiting for one of our local league members to return from overseas, not from New Zealand. We're waiting for them to return from Hungary. So our very own Stewie has gone and proudly waved the Aussie flag at the Euro Bowl. So I just want to say personally, I'm very, very proud of him. Unfortunately, the team did not do as well as they had hoped. They actually ended up doing a South Australia and a rearguard action and came last. But I'm particularly proud of Stewie, who managed to make sure he only lost games by one touchdown or less. So, hats off to him. And when you're against the best of the best of the best across the globe, I think that's a phenomenal effort. And I just want to say that I'm sure Stewie's learnt a bucket load, and I'm actually going to be nervous playing him from now on.
Oh, well, yeah, and Stewie gets back in Australia, and then like the next day drives down to the Big Ipswich, which we're going to talk about shortly. And I'm fairly sure he's taking necro to that. So what he learned from playing in Euro Bowl, like his first match was against Joe Mungie, and it's like, dude, do you know who that guy is and how good he is? And Stewie went down, it was either 1-0 or 2-1 to him. So like the level of games that he would have been playing over there, his game is just going to go through the roof. He's going to be it's going to be scary facing him now.
I've had a bit of a running joke for the last 2 years that everyone's going to be in real strife if they can ever run into Stewie after he's had a good night's sleep for a solid week. Now that Stewie's retired after 41 years, and congratulations to Stewie for that one, we might actually get to see powered up, full power Stewie at least one event in the very near future, if not at Ipswich, because he's still going to be jet lagged and travelling. There'll be another tournament very soon where people will actually have to take him a lot more seriously than they have previously. And I'm looking forward to seeing him get a podium finish in the next 12 months.
Yeah. I've been predicting that because I completely agree with what you're saying there, Wilts. I think, and it just shows that, as a coach, you can build and develop your game, and Stewie is proof of that. He's been a coach to watch, and is absolutely one to watch right now. I mean, he's scary as is, let alone, as you say, once he gets some decent sleep under his belt and not suffering vertigo or jet lag. Yeah, that's right. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, 100%. Hey, one thing I did forget to mention about Ausbowl State Champs was the swag, right? I think we won the swag wars or Swagmageddon. Queensland managed to deliver more swag than any other team. That is when at Ausbowl State Champs, when we sat down and we're playing our opponents, there's a bit of a running tradition in Euro Bowl that you swap dice or some other kind of token to remember the game by and remember your opponents by. That's something that has kind of wound its way into Ausbowl State Championships, and so at this Ausbowl State Championships there were 5 teams that brought some swag to swap. So Western Australia used Tats for 2d6. South Australia, I believe, used Chessex for theirs, and they had dice. The ACT, I'm not sure where they got their dice from. They were a different style to what I'm used to, but they had dice to share. The North Island had dice, printed logos and pips on the other sides. Lovely colour scheme. And then we went one better. We didn't do 2d6. We went 3 block dice in some logos that were a little bit Wayne England inspired. And if you know who that artist was for Games Workshop, he no longer exists, sadly. He passed away. But also Deathroll the Croc. We gave out Deathroll to all of our opponents. And everybody who came over from Queensland, we raided the PAV very successfully. In fact, the Queensland deluge of Greenstone did end up with a net positive for Australia, which was very much needed. In fact, as we speak on the podcast, the PAV sits at +8 to Australia. So the +3 we ended up with raiding Greenstone Cup was very much needed. And what that means is that, we also gave out a whole bunch of swag to all the Queenslanders who came over to New Zealand, thanks to our anonymous benefactor. And the dice we had were not just the plastic block dice that we gave out, which were lovely, but we also gave out resin dice to everybody who made the trip to commemorate the trip over. That's a D8 and a D16, as well as 2D6 and block dice in resin. And I just wanted to really mention that the Tats is really doing amazing things with dice. He is actually able to custom design D8s and D16s, if that's something you're interested in. And I just wanted to really say that his dice production is really hitting new levels, new strides. He's going to, I think he's superior to a lot of other dice producers in that you don't have to go through the effort of designing your logo fully before uploading it. Tats will actually sit with you and help design your logo for you. So he's a player. He's a Blood Bowl coach. He understands about readability of dice. He understands about Blood Bowl and what symbols might mean. He can develop logos from scratch if you need him to, so you don't have to. So I just want to really recommend him to you. As much as other providers like Chessex do an amazing job, and I know that Southern Trike Bowl have some very sweet looking dice coming up for Southern Trike Bowl from Chessex. I think Tats can rival that. I think he's doing amazing stuff.
Yeah, and like you said, they're fully customizable. The D6, you don't have to get just something on the 6 side. He can do all 6 sides. Obviously, if he can do block dice, unique. And just from a personal point of view, the dice that I received as part of my being a member of the Queensland team, they were the block dice. That's solely what I used. I did have other block dice, but never ended up using them. And they very, very, very rarely failed me. Every half of Blood Bowl that I played, I had 1 or 2 re-rolls left in my kitty. So the dice that were rolling were not failing. So you've heard it here first. Tats' dice roll well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking forward to grabbing some swag from the Big Ipswich that comes from Tats. So two things. There is some D6 coming from Tats, but there is also a limited edition. What's his name? The Dude.
The Dude.
Yeah, the Dude. There is the Dude miniature. I think he might be a coach. I'm not sure of the model, but yeah. Next weekend coming. Unfortunately, if you haven't registered for the Big Ipswich, I'm sad to say, unless there's a dropout, you've missed out. Well, Big Ipswich sold out. But awesome swag. I'm looking forward to getting my Dude.
I'm looking forward to a glass beer stein.
Yeah.
Yes, well, there's that. But not only does Tats customize the dice for you, he can actually customize STL files. So if you've got something that's close, and I know the Ipswich guys and girls, I think they went through Hero Forge to get the first STL of what they wanted. Then they gave that STL to Tats, and he's able to customize that. I know he's done that before with my ball tokens as well. He can make customizations to STL files too. So he's a one-stop shop. If you want swag, jump onto Tats Tabletop. He's on Facebook. He'll be on all over the place. well, we might talk a little bit later about how much on Etsy or eBay he is, but here's your one-stop shop for all of your swag for all your tournaments. So look him up.
Yeah, 100%. Let me quickly do a quick rundown of the calendar. So between now and the end of the year, because there is a new edition of Blood Bowl around the corner, I just wanted to quickly wrap up the year. So just wanted to say, hey, congratulations to Bush Chook Cup over in WA. I had a quick chat with Rob Wood over there. They did have 24 coaches registered. Unfortunately, there were a couple of dropouts. 22 coaches, Bush Chook Cup. Great job. Well done. Fantastic. Good to see. Southern Trike Bowl is this weekend coming, same weekend as the Big Ipswichki. And Red Joes are closed. But their swag, oh my goodness, do I want that Jaguar? Is it a Jaguar blocker? I think it is. They've got some cool swag. I love their dice. I'm going to see whether there's anything left over at the end of that event. Southern Trike, hope that goes really, really well, guys. Obviously, Big V we've heard about. So Big V, 15th, 16th of November, 165 coaches registered at the time of recording. So yeah, getting pretty close to their 180 cap. Pretty cool. Now Ipswichki is this weekend, but there's another tournament we're holding in reserve. Millsy, you've got 1 minute. Go.
Yes. 1 minute. It's the world's first 2-day sevens event. So it's actually played on a beach bowl pitch. It's the Bundy Rumble. It's up here in Bundaberg, the 29th and 30th of November. 2 days, like I said, kind of a little bit of a later start on a Saturday to give people to travel if they're in the southeast corner of Queensland, and an earlier finish on the Sunday to let them get an earlier trip on the way home. And as we've heard earlier, there will be a prize for the best comeback. Whoever tanks their games on day one and then comes back really well. But looking forward to it. And I think we announced last episode that it's the world's first 2-day sevens event. I haven't had anyone reach out to me to say otherwise, so I'm still running with that. And there's going to be more swag than you can poke a stick at, including swag from Tats. So I've got, what have I got coming from here? I've got, block dice. Custom block dice. So if you're into custom block dice, I've also got Luca Brunnyhook, which was, if you've been listening for a while, you know would be the star player from the original Beach Party Rumble. So I've got a custom miniature of that coming, and I've also got a custom sideline miniature, which is a bit of going to be a little bit of a surprise at this stage. There's plenty of swag. There's reroll counters, heaps of stuff on the prize table. $60, 2 days, includes lunch. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, that's brilliant. And of course, at the event, you will be announcing and drawing the winner of the raffle.
Yes. So if anyone wants to get in beforehand, the raffle for the Flagstaff Jailbirds, the human team, their Flagstaff Jailbirds were the team of mention in the novel of Few Ball by none other than Babs and Jeff Turner, which I've got signed. They're all painted up. So if you find yourself at the Big Ipswichki this weekend or at the Bundy Rumble, you can buy them in person. Or if you prefer, you can actually send us a private message, and you can pay through PayPal if you're after that. So it's downunderworlddenizens@gmail.com. So they're $5 a ticket. And if you are paying through PayPal, please select the friends and family little click link, whatever it happens to be. Otherwise, there's some additional 5% charge that we don't want to give to PayPal. We'd rather keep it for our own travel fund for Down Underworld denizens.
Yeah, and in breaking news about the travel fund, I want to tell our listeners that it is official. We are officially go for Team Down Underworld Denizens World Cup Malta 2027. You'll be pleased to know that my beautiful wife has officially said, okay, Babs, if we can raise the funds, you can go. So how good is that? How fantastic is that? That the team is alive. And we are in planning Malta. Global reach. I reckon we can hit there. And so every dollar that you have put towards the raffle, every dollar that you have put towards our other fundraising initiatives will be used for Down Underworld denizens to attempt to get to Malta. Now we're not 100% guaranteed of making it, but we're going to do our darndest to raise the funds to get there. So hey, I'm pumped. I'm excited for it. I think our adventure in New Zealand has whetted our appetite. Do I have agreement from the other two?
I'd say that's
100%.
definite. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pumped for it. I'm pumped for it. And we're committed. We're committed to doing what it takes to get some funds in a way that is a win-win. All right. So just a special thanks to Ewan, who has funded the Down Under Wood denizens. Millsy and I have been busy painting up, ready to hand the miniatures over to Wilts to base. And that team, I heard Ewan is keen to take them to CanCon, so we have a deadline. We've got to get them ready and get them to him by CanCon. So there we go, boys. We've got some work to do. But we might post some pictures up pretty soon of that team, and if that interests you, if you're interested in a commissioned team that raises some funds towards seeing Team Down Underworld denizens make Malta. We're particularly keen to start a second team once this one's done. And we have the miniatures, we have the means for the Down Undead World denizens. That is a shambling undead team in 3rd edition, including all 4 ghouls. So if that interests you at all, reach out to us. We'd love to have a chat. We have some other miniatures that we plan to post up as well. So if you're interested in some classic 3rd edition Gary Morley sculpt Blood Bowl figures, we've got a stash that we're happy to raise some funds for the travel fund, and you end up with some fantastic miniatures, with a lovely paintwork at the same time. So what's not to love about that? A couple of other tournaments. We did mention Bush Chook Cup. We did mention Southern Trike. We mentioned our Queensland scene. There are a couple in New South Wales yet to happen, and they sound kind of they're both very beachside in their names. So we've got the Coastal Carnage and the Seaside Slaughter. So Coastal Carnage is happening on the Central Coast. Seaside Slaughter is happening in Port Macquarie. So there's 2 New South Wales tournaments left to go in the Blood Bowl scene in New South Wales. Lovely to see some events happening outside of Sydney itself. Brilliant. Make sure you're getting to those. I believe Regos are still open for both those events, so make sure you get up. And in breaking news, my own tournament that I'm going to run, which is a teams tournament in 2026, that is the Tournament of Champions, is going to have all of the miniatures that have been given away as prizes, as swag at tournaments across Queensland will be eligible as a star player. So Luca Brunnyhook will be able to be taken to the Tournament of Champions as a star player. But another one is Deathroll the Croc. Deathroll not only has been given away at Greenstone Cup and Ausbowl State Championships, or given to the Queenslanders at Greenstone Cup, but also is going to be given out with registration. So when you register for the Tournament of Champions 2026, you will receive your own Deathroll the Croc with plenty of time to paint up to bring along if you wish to play Deathroll as a star. And so we need to decide some stats for him and some skills, and we put it to a competition. And speaking of winners of the raffle, we have a winner of Deathroll the Croc. Wilts, Millsy, tell us who were the honourable mentions, who got close to winning but not quite.
I'll start off. One of the first honourable mentions goes to Mark. I think it's Cords, Cordes. His name was in the mention there for a while when we're going through the stats and so on. But definite honourable mention for the fluff that's involved with it. There's like a page and a half, and just reading it, it's just fantastic. So look onto our Facebook page. You can see scroll down till you find our Deathroll topic there, and click on the first one. So the fluff that goes with it, like this guy Mark has put so much effort into it. So really want to give an honourable mention to that one. And I think Wilts has another honourable mention.
Oh yeah, big shout out to Byron Laurie. He's got a little bit of fluff there. He was one of the first people that posted. I just really like the skills package he put together for the crocodile. Obviously, I'm going to assume that he's got everything a Croxagore normally comes with, but then he's got some fun skills added on that work really well together, and just makes a really, really interesting combination and package. Didn't quite have everything figured out at the very end of it, but a really, really good effort there.
Yeah. It was close. It was close. I reckon he's runner up. But the winner, Russell John Cutting with Deathroll the Croc. Millsy, do you want to run us through the stats and skill?
Okay, Russell John Cutting. He's put Deathroll the Croc as movement 6, 5, agility 5 plus, no passing, AV of 11 plus, 290k. It has animal savagery, loner 4 plus, wrestle, jump up, iron hard skin, mighty blow +1, thick skull, prehensile tail. And it has a special ability. You spin me right round. Once per drive, when Deathroll is placed prone along with another prone player due to the wrestle skill, it may immediately roll armor and a possible injury roll against the adjacent player. And there's a little bit of fluff. I think we've got time. I can put it here. Smelling blood from a nearby illustrious Super League match. Deathroll clawed out of the primordial muck, hopeful for a tasty meal. When an opposing war dancer waltzed too close to the sideline, Deathroll launched himself at the unsuspecting snack, dragging him to the ground and performing an extremely violent tumble that would become their namesake. The war dancer survived, but has never been able to play again. Impressed, some slan mages coaxed Deathroll over with fresh meat, squeezed him into a jersey, and have been sending him out onto the pitch ever since to deal with particularly hard to bring down opponents.
Love it. Well written. Brilliant. Winner. All right. Deathroll the Croc. And if you want Deathroll the Croc, as I said, register for Tournament of Champions 2026, September 18th to 20th, 2026.
Around the grounds.
All right, we are now live. Hey, I would just like to welcome Damian, aka Honeybadger, to Down Underworld Denizens for our final Around the Ground segment, at least for the next little while, because if you've been listening to our podcast, you would know we have gone through every state and territory where Blood Bowl is being played in Australia, and looking at what is going on in both the league scene and the tournament scene. And we are absolutely delighted to have Damian on the podcast to talk about that very underrepresented state, Tassie. Welcome to the podcast, Damian.
Well, yeah, g'day from Launceston, and yeah, thanks a lot for having us on the show, mate. We do sometimes tend to get forgotten about. I think Jimmy Reese has recently done a skit about that. But there is Blood Bowl in Tasmania. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, well, everybody loves a good map of Tassie. But what I wanted to ask is, if we fly over to Tasmania, does that mean we're overseas because we flew over Bass Strait? Like, does that...
Oh, please, this blows my little boy's mind, because we moved from Victoria to Tasmania last year, and he keeps referring to Australia as being overseas and Tasmania is a different country. So it's a contentious issue in our house.
Yeah, brilliant. I have to confess, I have been to Tasmania, but I have never been to Hobart, and that's not by choice. That was, we only had limited time, so we stuck to the north of Tassie. But Damian, why don't you fill us in terms of the map of Tassie that I alluded to earlier? Tell us about where is Blood Bowl currently being played in Tasmania. Fill us in.
Yeah, no dramas. So, like all things in Tasmania, the state is divided into 3 regions. The northwest, which is your Devonport, your Burnie, where the ferry comes into the state. The north, which is Launceston, and the south, which is Hobart. And it's almost as if you do have 3 separate states within the one. And in order to correlate with that, last year we had 3 different leagues in Tasmania. So we had the Northwest League, which was Dub Skulls, the Launceston League, which gets played once a year at the Launceston Gaming Club. And then Dan Bassett down Hobart Way, he kickstarted the Hobart League last year. And, they've had another crack at it again this year. So 3 leagues across the state, 10 to 12 coaches in each of the leagues. And yeah, that's the health of our game at the moment, which is nice to see.
So, how many seasons of Blood Bowl? Because that's kind of how you measure leagues, is how many seasons they've been running. How often do they run? What style of league? Like, is it an open format? Is it a fixed schedule? How many? How long is the league? Tell us a little bit about the length of each season and how many seasons each of those three have been running for.
Yeah, so the Hobart League down south, they had their first season last year, and that was just Swiss pairings. About 8 or 10 coaches, led by Dan. So that was really good to see that. I think the quote earlier this year was, be the change in the world that you want to see, and Dan did just that. He got Blood Bowl thriving down there.
Apologies for butchering that quote, which Wilt's kindly corrected on the podcast. Welcome, Wilts, by the way. You're still muted, by the way.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to interrupt anything. It's all good.
G'day, Wiltsy. So that's the down south. In the northwest, Shannon Reeves, he's been the main front runner for Blood Bowl in that area. So he's run Dub Skulls, which just a joke on double skulls, because such is life. He's put a few seasons into that league. This year was the first year that it's not run for a little while, due to health reasons, which we'll sort of touch on, I guess, later on in the interview. And again, that's just a Swiss pairings league, runs for 8 to 10 games, drafting a new team every time. And that's pretty much a common theme across all of Tasmania. We always draft new teams. So you're not going to be coming across the 1600 TV Woodall 4 Dwarf team, because we do like to play our Blood Bowl quite friendly down here. And then over in the north, very similar sort of story, about 10 or 12 coaches. We run it out of the Launceston Gaming Club, and we just rent a church hall every Thursday night. But what I find interesting about Blood Bowl in Tasmania is that you don't have Blood Bowl purists as such, because these are people who really do and still enjoy playing other games. So we just run the one league per year. It pains me. I wish we were playing Blood Bowl all year round, but we just run one league per year, and then the rest of the year we'll split off and we'll do Gorka Walker or Necromunda, a few of the other games, which is, I think, quite a defining difference. When I was living in Victoria, you talk to some of your fellow Blood Bowl coaches, and that was the game that they played and nothing else. So yeah, we definitely don't have the same thriving, bumping scene that you'd get in, Queensland, New South Wales, or Victoria, but it's still quite healthy.
Yeah, that's great. Have you had a chance for any of the league, like inter-league matches? So, have you played against any of the other leagues that are down there?
No, so we've not actually done a interleague conference, but we do have what we call Pub Bowl, and Pub Bowl is a eternal sevens league. So each coach is allowed to draft 3 separate teams. There's a little bit of a slight tweak to the rule in that if one of your good players gets drafted after obtaining one too many skills, your team is credited the entire balance of that star's playing fee. So, if, for example, a human blitzer got drafted, because I feel like it's a bit of a feel bad if one of your good players gets drafted and then you're short of your positional and you're short of cash because it's not that generous what you get paid for it. You get the full 85K reimbursement for losing your good player. And Pub Bowl, the idea came about when I missed a league match and we did a catch-up at Duquesne, which is one of our local breweries. And the amount of comments of people who walked past and said, oh, hey, I play that online, or I used to play Blood Bowl. So I think rather than being hermits and just playing Blood Bowl in our gaming club, I've encouraged the fellas to get out of the house, go play casual, friendly games of Blood Bowl that aren't going to take the entire afternoon, somewhere public, have a couple of beers, catch up with your mate. And yeah, we're picking up new members that way, which is really good to see.
Damian, have you heard of Oz Sevens? Have you given that a crack? Because in that version of Sevens, you don't have players vanishing off to somewhere else just because they picked up a skill.
No, I actually hadn't heard of that, but it's not a bad idea. Although I do wonder, do you run the risk of getting that absolutely filthy witch elf who's, we've got one of them in our league at the moment who's got block, mighty blow, sidestep. She's an absolute menace. She's just causing casualties and scoring touchdowns left, right, and centre.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, she's still got AV 8 plus, right? So, she's only a good boot to the head away.
Absolutely.
Got to catch them first. Okay, so the question I've been nominated to ask is, apparently you guys had a tournament just yesterday. How did that go, and what's it look like?
Yeah, so yesterday we ran, so Blood Bowl, to join the 3 regions in Tasmania, we've got what we refer to as the Tasmanian Recreational Blood Bowl Leagues. And that's just our messenger group that we chat on. We've also got a Facebook page. So we ran our first Blood Bowl tournament yesterday, which also happened to be Tasmania's first NAF registered Blood Bowl tournament.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah, thank you. It came about because one of our local coaches down here, Shannon, the fellow who runs the Northwest League, unfortunately, he's had a cancer diagnosis that he's been battling over the last year or so, just over a year now. And we always, you catch up with a mate and you talk about, how good would it be if we had a tournament series down in Tasmania? Or how good would this idea be? And for ages, Shannon and I were talking about running a tournament in Tasmania. And, given how long Shannon's cancer battle has been going on for, one of his family members started a crowdfunding campaign to help them out now that Shannon's family's now down to, one income. And so I thought, I really need to pull my finger out. Let's do this Blood Bowl tournament, but let's do it for a cause. And so that's what we did. We had our first NAF registered tournament. Initially, we had 18 people sign up for it. We even had one interstater come down. Unfortunately, 2 of the fellas' life plans got in the way. Then we had a third dropout late in the day. The night before due to sickness. So that dropped us down to 15 with myself as the odd man in. I tapped out, so we had 14 competing coaches yesterday. Just a 1-day, 3-game resurrection-style tournament. And that tournament's called Two Heads Mutant Bowl. Not being from this island, I'm allowed to make fun of everyone down here being, inbred. So I thought, Mutant Bowl, mutations, what could we do with that? And so it was a 1.1 million team draft with a skills package split across 4 tiers. And our little quirk for this tournament was that each team was allowed to pick 1 free mutation.
Nice.
Because when you look at those mutation skills, there's so many good things you can do with them. And you're just what would be the best thing you could do if you could give a war dancer, a human blitzer, or, give anyone a mutation? And so I just wanted to see what people could come up with their creativity. So, yeah, that was Two Heads Mutant Bowl that we had ran yesterday. We had it at a bowls club, so nice cheap drinks, good atmosphere. They were really, really good hosts for us. They, gave the venue to us at a really good cheap discount. So, yeah, our thanks to East Launceston Bowls Club for that. And, I was really wrapped with the guys. Being our first tournament, I was really worried about people running over with time and things like that. We had 2-hour, 20-minute rounds. But each round, we only had 1 game that didn't finish completely, and they only missed out by, a turn and a half or so. So I was really happy with the fellas because, normally we play our Blood Bowl at the pub. We play our Blood Bowl at the gaming club where we sit around and chat, and it's not uncommon for our games to push out to 3.5 hours just because it's just mates catching up and enjoying a Thursday night together. So, yeah, they did really good, sticking to tight timings for a tournament. And I suppose good props go to Russell Webb. He won the day with an unblemished record of 3 wins, no losses, fielding Chaos Dwarves.
Ooh.
So he did phenomenal with that. And he also got most touchdowns, the bugger.
That's not something you see all the time.
Did he have extra arms on his bull centaur or something?
I think he actually did. Let's have a look. Yes, extra arms. So, yeah, he did fantastic. And, Shannon came along. He long-suffering Tomb Kings coach. So, yeah, he stuck true to his guns, played his Tomb Kings. He had a pretty even record for the day, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. And we end up raising, I think, close to $800.
Brilliant.
For Shannon and his missus. So, yeah, we're really happy with you fellas.
Excellent work.
And, of course, you're not done. I've already seen that you've got 5 Raiders of the Big V coming up. So, yeah, 5 Tassie coaches heading to the Big V this year.
Yeah, it would have been sixth if Shannon was able to come along as well. So we're trying to do a decent showing because we've got a few people who are dead keen on the game, and Big V, like, how could you miss it? It's just such a great weekend. It's a bit easier for me to be able to justify because I've got a lot of family and friends who are still in the Melbourne area.
Yep.
I used to play bowl in the Victoria Blitzers League, which is run out of the Thornbury Bowls Club. So it's just a great excuse to catch up with mates and get some good games in. And, it was actually Johnny Wilkinson who helped introduce me to Blood Bowl. It was the first tournament I'd ever gone to. And, that's from coming out of the abyss. I hadn't been lured into Blood Bowl by any friends as such. I just bought the starter set, thought, oh, this must be a smaller game. It must go quicker than regular Warhammer 40k games. I've got kids on the way. Maybe I should pick up a beer and pretzels game. And, Johnny helped me get into Blood Bowl. So, I'm more than happy to pop back across the ditch and say good day to the team and roll some dice with some friends.
Awesome. So did you get at least one coach from each of your three leagues at Two Heads Mutant Bowl?
Yeah, so it was really good to see we had two people put their hands up that we, out of thin air, so not connections who have been playing league games previously or anything like that. So as I said, there are definitely people down here who are playing Blood Bowl. They're just in isolation, haven't made those connections yet. So it was good to see a couple of new faces. Then we had a couple of maybe three from Hobart, four from the Northwest, and then a remainder from the Launceston area. And we also had Fabius, or Lucas Coward Marshall. He was our foreign invader. He came down from Victoria for the weekend.
Yeah,
so that was bloody awesome. I think, and there's been a fair few other fellas who've said that they're keen to come down next year if we put it on again, which I'm quite keen to do. But just because this was quite a rush tournament, it was done on a very tight time frame. Because when I saw Shannon's, crowdfunding campaign get initiated by his family, I thought, let's put this on quickly because it's evident that there's a need. So rather than, forecast this 4 months in advance, I think it was put on with 6 weeks' notice or so.
Yep.
So if we give a bit more prior warning, there's been a few other people who've said that they'd be keen to come down and help us and help roll some dice and sink some beers.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I when I was in Tassie, I went to Burnie because my wife had a very, very good friend who lived there at the time, and they have a hardware store in Burnie, and all the shop dummies, like what's the name of those mannequins, right? They all have two heads. All the mannequins have two heads in the store, and they have a T-shirt like that you can buy in the hardware store, and the slogan is "Two heads are better than one," right? Like so.
Love it.
Yeah, mate, you go to the Launceston airport, and the gingerbread men have two heads. So
awesome.
So
I love the way that your Two Heads Mutant Bowl just leans into that. I think it's fantastic. It's hilarious. Hey, I got one question for you. Back in the dim distant past, the whole reason I'm on the podcast is because I'm an old fogey and I remember things from a long, long time ago. But there was a couple who lived in Launceston, and Brian and his son Michael Horton, and Brian's NAF name is Bevan. They were pretty instrumental in the early days of the tournament scene in Australia because Brian actually wrote software to track tournament results, and he deliberately designed a Swiss pairing system that made sure that at a tournament you never played the same type of team twice, so that if you played dwarves in a round, it paired you up against teams that weren't other dwarf coaches. So it wasn't really strict Swiss, it was kind of a modified Swiss system. And we ran that software for quite a few years. So that was his own software, and he called it his own NAF name, Bevan. We ran it at quite a few different tournaments back in the day. Have you bumped into the Hortons, Brian and Michael in Launceston?
No, I can't say I have. And they don't strike me as like names I've come across at the gaming club who just happen to have, like me, maybe moved on to other platforms, other gaming systems. Because as I said, there's not too many Blood Bowl purists down here. They like to get their Blood Bowl fix in for 3-4 months of the year. The league finishes, then they'll move on to playing other games. While the minority like myself are sort of chomping at the bit for the next opportunity to get into another league.
I will have to poke them to connect with you because I've reached out to them not that long ago. So
Please do.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions from our commentary panel?
Yeah, I've got one. So, if you listen to elsewhere on this podcast, you'll hear us talking about our trip over to New Zealand for the Ausbowl State Championships. And now that we've got something happening in Tassie, how long do you reckon it is before you get a Tassie team to the ASC?
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to Lucas about this at the pub last night, and we've got some really good coaches down here. So like Russell, who won the tournament last year, he won Launceston League last year, and he's just one of those really annoying people who it doesn't matter what board game he picks up, he's just good at it from the get-go. He's just got a very good analytical mind. So yeah, we do have a few very handy coaches here, but again, it's a matter of, hey, what's the chances of being able to get all those people in the one place at the one time? Because we're all at different life stages with our careers, with kids and families. So I reckon we'd be really close to putting in a decent team if everyone was available. Because yeah, honestly, we've probably got maybe 30 coaches who I think were viable to potentially be coming to our tournament yesterday, of which 18 were able to sign up. So, you look at something like that, nearly half of your members can't come to a given day. And I think you've got to take those statistics into account when you think about, how many good coaches do we have up our sleeves to be able to commit to a big trip like the Australian State Championships? So, maybe give us 2 years, give us 4 years. You might see Tasmania rocking the boat and trying to mess the system of how on earth we're going to fit another team into the tournament. But yeah, I would love to see it. Would absolutely love to see it.
Well, the good news is you've got a bare minimum of 2 years and possibly a third for the next Ausbowl.
Yeah, no, this is what we need, a bit of prep time.
And it's not that massive a trip. I mean, it's only to the ACT. I mean, you could fly to Melbourne and drive it. Like, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we've got to make it somewhere, because the climate in Launceston is very similar to Canberra. And I want sun, mate, if I'm going overseas. Oh, sorry, overseas again. This is where we're talking about Tasmania being a different country.
I got in your head, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's my wife's English. She moved to Australia because she wanted sun. So I reckon I've got a better chance at maybe getting her up to Queensland for a tournament and making a weekend of it than Canberra.
Why not both? Yeah, we got some absolute cracking events. We've actually just finalised our, well, at least it's not even quite finalised, but we've got our draft calendar for 2026 up and available to those of us in Queensland already. So yeah, we've got some really good tournaments on the cards for next year, 100%.
Yeah, and I think it's something you fellas have talked about in the past about, the importance of a Blood Bowl calendar and, where do you oversaturate it too much and, what events are you potentially going to be clashing with, big interstate tournaments, be it like Sydney Bowl or Eucalyptus Bowl, Big V. And it's something that I'm quite conscious of as well. We've got slightly different school holidays to some of the other states. And so it's like, I would love to put on a tournament, next year with a bit more warning so that people can, gather up the family, pop down to the Apple Island for a trip. And, even yesterday in the debrief from our tournament, we're like, we could organise like a Bogues Brewery tour for people when they come down here. We could put together an itinerary for people's families of, what are good attractions to go to, while your other half is sitting at the bowls club playing Blood Bowl. So it's an important consideration, the calendar, and when everything works up, fall. So it's good to see you guys are doing a draft already.
All right. Anything else in the future for Tassie Blood Bowl that we haven't covered already? Obviously, you've already said Two Heads Mutant Bowl is go for 2026. Anything else? Anything else on the cards in the future of Tassie Blood Bowl?
I think we'd like to get at least 3 tournaments in a year. So one of those would be a 1-day 4-game sevens event. That potentially might be the Northwest's tournament that they want to contribute. Down south, we'd probably leave that to, someone like Dan or Sam. I suspect it may be like another 1-day 3-game tournament. And then, I initially thought when it came time to organising a tournament for Tasmania, I'd call it Tasbowl. I would want to make a perpetual trophy, in the likeliness of a Blood Bowl. So grab a gridiron ball, chuck a couple of spikes on it and let the winner sign the ball. But I think, now that I've got 2 heads under my belt, that's probably going to be my baby. So I'll let potentially Hobart steal the Tasbowl idea. But, we'll probably try and run 3 tournaments next year, somewhere, ranging in between February and October, because, we want to keep November free for Big V.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Damien, be sure to, when you get those dates, lock them in and chuck them on the either the Ausbowl Discord or the Ausbowl Facebook, and that'll be your best chance at getting some of those interstaters to come down. If we can see the date early enough. I know I struggle, trying to get brownie points with the missus to go away for a weekend, but have no problem whatsoever when I say, "Oh, here's a tournament that we can potentially use as a holiday." The missus loves doing that sort of thing. So if we had enough advance warning, you may be getting some Queenslanders down there.
Yeah, we'd love to see it, and I can definitely promise it will be with more than 6 weeks' notice. One, that was my first ever tournament that I've run, so a few learning steps in that process. But 2, that was a tight time frame, and I have a lot of respect for tournament organisers because the amount of effort that goes into it, the communication, even just trying to spruik it across multiple platforms. Like you said, you put it up on Discord, then you've got to put it into messenger groups, and you've got to make a Facebook group. A few of the fellas down here were communicating with me via email. A lot of effort goes into it, but next year we'll definitely give you guys a bit more notice of what's happening in Tasmania.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. And in fact, the person who coordinates the Ausbowl calendar for 2026 and has been for a couple of years is Alex McAuliffe, who is the ACT team captain. So you can just reach out to Alex and he will put any dates you have into that calendar, and it does sit on the Ausbowl Discord. So there you go.
Good to know. No, thanks, fellas.
Well, thank you very much for coming on Down Underworld Denizens. Thanks for your time. We really appreciate having you on, and we're absolutely delighted to have Tassie on the map. Unless we want to get Damian to say that's brilliant.
Well, Mr. Damian Coates, could you please give us your very best Down Underworld Denizens? That's brilliant.
If you insist. That's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
I was very laid back. That's brilliant. I liked it. Very ochre.
That's how they do things in Tassie.
I was going to say, we're not serious punch down here.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Damien. Really appreciate you coming on and just helping, the Australian Blood Bowl scene and wider afield know about Tassie Blood Bowl. You're not in the secret shadows anymore. You're not considered extinct like the Tassie tiger. You're on the map. Yeah, really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that this podcast helps people keep their eye out for your tournaments.
Thank you very much. Fingers crossed.
Hey, just wanted to circle back around to Blood Bowl 3rd season, which I'd prefer to call 8th edition. Millsy would prefer to call Anniversary Edition. And I think Wilts is settling on Blood Bowl or BB25. Is that what you're settling on, Wilts?
That's what it's going to be.
So one of the things I just wanted to just get people to calm down about is the prone and stunned marker, singular. I've only seen one. I've had a good look through the article. We haven't had any further news on this edition, which I'm actually kind of excited for, weirdly. I'm glad there's been a bit of a pause because I'm hoping that that means that the Blood Bowl box set will get released on November 22. Hopefully that means it's the Black Friday release, which is the large box they drop to try and sell as many of in time for Christmas. The reason I'm excited for that is I want to see Games Workshop do very, very well out of Blood Bowl. I really do want to see them make lots of money from Blood Bowl and support it as they have with second season. So that's why I'm pleased to see it. But back to the prone and stun marker, there's been a lot of nervousness about, hang on a minute, does that mean nobody ever needs to place their models down again? Well, hang on a minute. I just wanted to highlight a reason why I think GW might have done this. The reason why they might include a singular prone and stun marker in the box, it has to do with Forge World resin. So just pause and think for a moment, right? That at the moment, big guys, most big guys, come in Forge World resin. Not all of them, obviously. There's a couple in plastic. But star players, again, there's a couple in plastic, but most are in Forge World resin. And Forge World resin is not the strongest of resins, right? Like we know that it can be brittle, it can be fragile, and if you drop a model, it can be have devastating consequences. And some models, some Forge World models in particular, are very, very prone to breakage. And so I think the reason they've introduced this prone and stun marker has to do with models like Rodney Roachbait and Maple High Grove, right? You have a good look at those models and you have a look at the very thin resin that's on that model. And I think that's the reason they've introduced this prone and stun marker. I think it's really as simple as that. I mean, I'd love them to have better resin, but I don't think they're going to do that. And I think this is the solution they've come up with. Any comments, gentlemen?
I think, as regards to Maple High Grove, that's a perfectly fine statement. But I've played a couple of games against Rodney Roachbait now, and he seems to handle the rough and tumble of getting knocked down every turn just fine.
Yeah, although when you have a look, that fishing line, that fishing pole, and the actual line, it's a fishing line itself. You want to be careful.
But no, I said you don't want to be, placing somebody else's miniature prone, and like you said, snapping off a branch or a leaf from a maple or a fishing line from Rodney Roachbait, because not only have they, paid exorbitant amounts, and they've probably got a decent paint job on there as well, and these resin models are not the easiest to glue back or pin back, and then that sort of ruins someone's expensive model and or paint job. So yeah, I can totally see why they've got that prone and stun marker. I don't think it has anything to do with because models are too big and we need to put this down, or keeping your players up, because where is that prone or stun marker going to go? You need to actually physically take the model off the pitch and then put the prone or stun marker back into that space.
Well, the markers that are in the box are designed to fit around the bases of an existing model. The problem is that there's no space in the squares on the board to fit that marker and the base in the same square, so it doesn't actually solve any problems.
No, it's true. 100%, you're right.
Another own goal by GW.
Well, as I said to you, they've designed a perfectly good market for third-party manufacturers to step into because they can do a better job.
Well,
but speaking of that,
speaking of which, yes. Now, not all third-party miniatures are still going. I know a lot of them have been issued with a cease and desist, and GW actually got onto eBay and tried to take down the majority of third-party printers. And it just sort of screams back to those the old days of, this is our IP, you can't do anything. Need we point out that the majority of Games Workshop miniatures stolen from somebody else's IP? You look at the Tyranids or whatever they are, the Gene Stealers from Space Hulk and Warhammer 40K. They're a direct rip-off from the movie Alien. Even the fact that you've got a halfling, that's a direct rip-off of Tolkien. So, GW have just, I don't know, I think they've rehired the lawyers they had back in the 2010, 2011 sort of era. And it's left a bit of sour note in some 3D printers' minds.
Yeah, I just want to say before, as I said to you, I want to see GW sell lots of box sets. I really want to see them do well. I want to see them make lots of money, but this is the wrong way about it. Sorry, GW, you're being a prat. I'm sorry, but attacking third-party producers is not the solution. Now, I'm the first person to actually send warnings out to third-party producers saying, be careful, guys. And I did say that on Blood Bowl Community. I said, hey, producing a whole bunch of gnomes immediately after the gnome team got dropped by GW, just watch out. I think I actually put that on Ausbowl. But the point is that, GW, unfortunately, are not following what our rumor initially said. Our rumor initially said that GW weren't concerned about third-party producers. Well, we've now got 3 pieces of evidence to say, yeah, they are. About 3 months ago, GW went after Etsy. They actually told Etsy to take down a whole bunch of pages of printers of 3D sculpts. So this is not actually the producers of the miniatures. This is not actually the designers of the sculpts who create the STLs. This is the printers. These are the third-party companies that print the 3D sculpts for people. and they took a whole bunch of them down. Now, Etsy eventually realised that actually GW were overreaching in terms of what they claimed was actually a breach of intellectual property, and it actually wasn't. And so, about a month after Etsy had taken all those third-party, 3D printing companies down, or taken their Blood Bowl posts down of stuff for sale, they quietly let that go. And so there are actually ways you can buy third-party teams on Etsy. Now, more recently, they've done it again. They've hit eBay, and they've done the same thing. These are companies that print 3D teams that are suitable for Blood Bowl, and they've basically taken them down. And a couple of producers of these teams for us in Australia have been hit. And so their eBay listings have been taken down. eBay has been told by Games Workshop to take it down, and they've complied. Again, I think it's GW flexing their muscle beyond what is legally correct, but they've done it. And so I know Tats is one of those producers that's been impacted by this. He's been told, nope, sorry, you can't list teams by Brute Fun or other companies, and he has to take them down. I also know that GW have chased up Agni. They've chased Agni and told Agni, you're not doing the right thing, and slapped him with a cease and desist as well. So, yeah, this is big, bad GW legal chasing after the third parties, the little guys, to try and shut them down. Now, I know in our rumour, we were actually quite pleased that GW were going to combat the third-party producers by producing all miniatures needed for a team in the one box. I thought that was the solution they were going to employ. So, because that would take away one of the reasons to buy these third-party teams. Like, one of the reasons why you buy a team from somewhere like Punga is you get everything you need all in one hit, right? You get the big guy, you get all 16 models, they're all unique sculpts, right? You get any star player you want that's suitable. Now, obviously they're proxies or they're equivalents, but the point is you get everything you want, right? And for not that much more than the GW box set. So the reason you don't just go GW is there's stuff missing. And I thought, yeah, if GW are going to move to that model of providing everything in the box, that's a great combat. Not this legal action nonsense. I'm sorry, I'm very unhappy about it. Now, it's not going to stop me buying the third season boxed set, but I am upset. I'm not happy about it.
Do we want to also mention what was that thing that I highlighted yesterday? So it's not just with Blood Bowl. I saw a post on one of the Warhammer pages, I think it was on Facebook, how they're doing very similar with 40K as well. So I think it's just that GW legal have just come in and got their knickers in a twist and said no, we're gonna do this. And I think
what's particularly insidious about it is what they're doing is they're forcing or they're challenging companies like eBay and Etsy to take action steps that are actually beyond what is legally correct. Like they're claiming that it's a breach of intellectual property when it actually isn't. Right? Because there's no intellectual property on producing a gnome that plays football, right? There is no intellectual property that covers that. So if other manufacturers are producing gnomes that play a fantasy football, there is no intellectual property ownership by Games Workshop of that, right? So I don't like it because it is GW basically just flexing their muscle and claiming something that's not legally correct. Like, yeah, okay, if somebody is producing a direct rip-off that is identical, sure, take them down, no problem. Nobody's going to have a problem with that. But that's not what GW is doing here. GW is chasing after the third-party producers. Now, as I said, I do think the third-party producers have been a little foolish in that, literally days after a brand new team drops, they're producing their own versions of that team. I think that's probably not the right way to go as a third-party producer to very blatantly be chasing the GW dollars from under their noses. I don't think that's the right way. But I also just want to say GW are not doing the right thing here, right? I mean, in the bad old days, GW literally slapped legal letters on the biggest supporters of Blood Bowl there were, right? We're talking Fumble, got slapped. Talk Blood Bowl, got slapped, right? We're talking these kind of websites got actually sent letters saying stop what you're doing when what they were doing was supporting Blood Bowl. Like, that's not okay, right? At the end of the day, that's what these guys are doing, right? Like Agni, I know. right? I chat to Ivan. I know he does it because he loves Blood Bowl, right? He doesn't want to take Games Workshop's money away. He's doing it to supplement what GW is doing, right? So I'm not happy about this. I don't think it's a good action step. And I want you, the listener, to be aware. GW are taking legal action steps against these third-party producers that we know and love. And their printers. And the companies that print them.
Don't hold back, Babs. Tell us how you really feel.
Well, I mean, one of our own league members, and occasional podcast member, Zach Hancock, he admitted to me the other day, if at all possible, because of GW's bad action steps, I choose not to give them money. Where possible, I choose not to. Right? So there's one of our community who've like, nah, GW have gone one step too far. And I want to encourage you, the listener, what's your personal position? What do you think? There was actually a period of time where for 6 years I didn't buy a single GW product because I was disgusted with them. I thought that day had gone. I'd moved on. I'd gone back to buying GW. Well, if they're going to keep going down this road, maybe I need to go back to that position.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile. What we're doing now is we're putting it out to our listeners just to say this is what's happening. We're by no means telling you to boycott them. We just want to make you aware that these are the actions taken by what looks like big corporate picking on the little guy. The little guy obviously doesn't have a big enough lawyer to fight it, even though the little guy might be in the right. When you throw a lot of money around from the top there, it's the little people that get hurt. And it's, let's not fool ourselves here. It's the little people here that have kept Blood Bowl going since its inception. And one of the things you failed to mention there, we've talked about Tom Anders, who actually wrote the rules for Blood Bowl, for GW. GW had him writing the rules, and they sent him a cease and desist letter. So
I think four of them, I think, is the correct answer.
Yes. And it's just what are these guys thinking? It's you've got a good product. Like you said, I was hyped and I was stoked when this new set was coming out, new season, and I'm going to be buying it. Don't you worry about that. I'm going to get it. But it's just look. It
leaves a sour taste in your mouth, doesn't it? Yeah, and that's right. And I think GW need to understand that guys like us, we love these third-party producers. I love what Punga do. I literally looked at one of the Punga releases, and it has like some tentacled thing from in the sewer putting its tentacles up, and on one of its tentacles is like one of those foam fingers. And I think that might be inspired by some GW artwork. Well, he's turned into a miniature. I'm like, that's cool. I wouldn't mind that. These guys add to what GW do, right? Brute Fun and Punga and Reiko Vendetta. Unfortunately, Reiko's gone under. RNE Studios, all these guys, they do a great job to support what GW are doing. GW, you've got to understand that it's not just leeching, it's actually supplementing.
Yeah, and where else can you go to get an actual slant team? But you have to go to third parties. If GW, if you want to make money, I could not. GW, if you want to make $1, produce a slant team. Every person will buy it. I've got 3 slant teams already. I will buy a 4th. The amount of people that I talk to, it's gaining more and more interest every time I hear about it and so on. Like, GW, put it out. You're a maker of games. Let's just put out the games, put out the miniatures, and just stop the nonsense with the lawyers. Let's all just get along and play this wonderful game that you guys created.
And I think that might be a pretty good time to wrap up episode 18 of Down Underworld Denizens. So it's time for our sign-outs.
Hey, so Big Ipswich, big shout out. Last chance for me to take my Minotaur for a run in this current edition, and we'll see how many skulls he can reap in the name of Chaos Undivided.
Nice. Well, it's normally win or the casualty bin for me, but this Ipswich, I'm not sure how many wins I'm going to go for, but I am planning on putting a lot of people in that casualty bin.
And for me, it's my last year of the Stunty event. So, yeah, Big Ipswich for me, I'm bringing the Goblins. So, although you could argue that I'm really not, I'm really just being a star player caddy with my Goblin team. But yeah, we'll see how I go in the stunty. And I'll just say, look, I'm really looking forward to the next bit of tidbit of information. Really looking forward to seeing how Blood Bowl 8th edition pans out, what these rules actually mean, and stay tuned for further debrief about the new edition as it comes to pass. And yeah, pumped for Blood Bowl 8th edition dropping in time for everybody to migrate over in a nice orderly fashion for 2026.
Yeah, everyone's waiting for Blood Bowl Anniversary Edition, Babs.
Yeah.
BB25, yo.
All right, I think we're done.
Oh, I think that's a wrap. That's brilliant, guys.
So yeah,
you don't want to be placing someone else's.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be placing somebody else's. Oh, Babs, will you just shut up?
Go. Mute me and just keep
you don't want to
talking.
be placed. Oh, look, and you even talk over the top of me when I do that. Oh, if I start talking, you're not going to do it again, are you?
Oh, go. Say it again. Say it again, Millsy.
Mate, Tristan is Millsy on another level. He's just out there. I love it.
And if you know Tristan, you know it's true. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I
That's
figured
brilliant.
I'd get the Millsy seal of approval straight away when I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, I do like his entry. All right.
Come on, open up. Silly slow computer. Campfire, Crickets, Dead Set Legends, Down Underrated, Whoop Whoop, Intro, Outro, Legal.
I mean, you could even potentially record over it and say Around the Grounds.
Ooh, I could do that. Let me just say now. No, that was terrible. Everyone doing Around the Grounds, and I'll pick the best one.
British. What was that? It was like.
What accent do you want me to do?
I don't know, Melburnian, isn't it? Like an AFL
German
thing?
It's Around the Grounds. We will tell you.
Or as James Cardno says, what did he say? The jumpy kicky the jumpy kicky runny thing. Because he said, "Oh, all right. I hear some people want to watch the jumpy kicky runny thing, so I'll put it on the big screen." And it was the AFL Grand Final.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Damian.
So,
go, Millsy.
Babs, you always talk over the top of me.
I talk over the top of everybody. It's not personal.
Babs talks.
Hello?
Paging Mr. Miller.
Okay, I might start all of that again because I had myself on mute. Okay, let's go.
Down Underworld Denizens discusses games, workshops, games and products such as Blood Bowl, Gutter Bowl, Dungeon Bowl and Crunch. We also discuss other fantasy football board games and concepts from other companies such as Dread Ball, Guild Ball, Grind, Elf Ball, Myth and Goal, Blitz Bowl, Chaos Ball, Monsters of the Midway and Feud Ball. We discuss products and services such as miniatures or software made by producers suitable for several of these board games. Games Workshop. Terms and conditions in point 2.1 state they grant the user the non-exclusive right to use their authorised intellectual property for broadcasting and other media-related activities such as commentary and opinion pieces, blogs, and other similar informational and descriptive purposes. Down Underworld Denizens respects and honours these terms.